All right, welcome to the stream. I see a few of you are wondering what's going on. Like, is this happening now? Are we going now? Yes, we are going now. We're a little bit late, but better late than never. Good to see you all here and ready to get into some interesting topics here for today's live stream. And this is the ninth David Rams live stream, and today we do have a special guest. We have John. John, who is an animal farmer, has agreed to come onto the live stream, and we're gonna have a discussion. So, excuse me, I'm burping because I've got another one of these and drank a little bit before we started. So, ground rules for today. Well, first of all, before we get into that, actually, if you're watching this on the repeat, then please do check across the bottom of the screen. You'll be able to see some like separators for the different topics that we're going to discuss today, so you'll be able to jump to different timestamps. They're going to be all there for you, nice and separated, so easy to get to. If you are watching this live, there are a few things to talk about, but first off, if you want to get your statement or comment or question up on the screen, if you want us to talk about what you want to talk about, like right now, today you have to use the super chat, because I'm not going to be paying that much attention to the chat, because obviously I'm trying to have a discussion with the guest. So if you really want to say something and you want us to see what you want to say, then you have to use the super chat. It contributes to the stream, and it will ensure that your point gets up on the screen as well. So do that, okay? Now, some special rules for today. Well, these rules apply for every live stream actually, but especially today, all right? So John is an animal farmer. Now, none of you, or if you're vegan anyway, you're not going to agree with a lot of what he's going to say. You're not going to like a lot of what he's going to say. It's going to piss you off probably. It's going to probably piss me off. But at the end of the day, he came on for a discussion. He agreed to come on for a discussion, and we both agreed we're going to be civil. We both agreed we're not going to get into some kind of silly fight or anything like that. That's not useful for anyone. So I'd like to ask the same of you. If you are annoyed or angry at what he's saying, it's understandable. But please, I want to really request that you please don't direct any of your frustration and hatred or aggression directly at him. He's not coming onto this live stream with me to be attacked by you or me, all right? We can disagree with him. You can ask questions. You can make it clear that you disagree. You can make it clear that you're pissed off. It's all good and well. You can swear as much as you want. You can curse as much as you want. You can say everything, but just don't direct it at him is what I'm asking, please, okay? Don't insult him. Don't threaten him. Don't dox him. Don't call him names. Just please don't do any of that. I'm politely requesting you all to avoid that. I won't do any of that. So I'd request that you don't do it either. All of that being said, we are going to get into probably some tricky areas. I'm going to guess some tricky areas for sure. And yeah, just to jump in and we'll see how it goes. I'll be honest with you, I don't really have like a full outline for today. I don't know exactly how it's going to go, but attention to the chat, but I'll be paying a little bit of attention to the chat. So do keep the chat going, keep the comments flowing, get the conversations going about what's going on, and I'll keep checking it periodically. And remember, use that super chat if you really want something to come up onto the screen. If you really want us to discuss the topic you want us to discuss, use the super chat. All right, so let's invite John into the stream after that big introduction. John, welcome.
Hello, how are you?
All good, mate, all good. How are you feeling about today's stream?
Nervous, apprehensive. We all see the comments and basically the comments in all the vegan videos or any animal videos for that matter can get quite aggressive. So on both sides, absolutely on both sides, and
Yeah.
I think I feel the same way as yourself, which is why I commented on your video, David, because it was a very well edited video. Fair within reason. I had issues with some of it, but you weren't basically bashing left, right, and center and talking nonsense like some of the videos you see out there. So I just made a comment on it, and you came back to me on it, and I suppose that's where we are here today.
Sure, yeah. This was the video with the smoking, the parody and the smoking parody, and yeah, that we just put out. Yeah, cool. So give us like I guess a short introduction for you, man. I mean, what's like, who are you? What do you do? Briefly, and so people get an idea of that. Yeah.
I'd be a fourth or fifth generation dairy farmer, and we've been, before that we would have been in working with animals to coachmen to the big house in England, wherever we came from. There was obviously a family with that in 5 different directions, but we've always been involved with kids come in.
It's all right, don't worry.
We've always been involved in animals, working alongside animals. As long as generations that we can go back. Times have changed. I'm now dairy farming. I've taken over from my father. We are milking in around about 80 cows. Before this, I was working in the Irish Farmers Association. I was negotiating milk price with co-ops and so on and so forth. And sort of the idea of where we are here in Ireland, we're very different than the rest of the world in that, well, not all of the world, there is parts of the world that are similar to us, but we would be more established in our farming systems. The land would be under agriculture for a long time. I suppose anywhere in Europe you could say that, and similar systems. Also the way that we are farming, it is more in, we own the co-op, we own the system, and so therefore we also have to negotiate our milk price, and it's a more smaller scale system what we're doing here. So I'm milking about 80 cows, which will be in around about average. It will be larger for our area, but it will be average or below average for the country.
Okay, cool. So I guess let's just follow this. Let's go from here, I suppose. I mean, you've opened up, you told us a bit about the dairy farm and how it's, you say it's slightly different in Ireland. So let's kind of start with that then. So on your farm, while practices on most farms, or you can correct me if I'm wrong, regarding dairy cows, they differ from obviously these large farms to small farms. There are differences, of course. But on your farm specifically, what's the situation? What's the system that you put into place for example, getting the cows to produce milk? So like impregnating the cows, and then what's the process after that? Like, tell us the process that you go through on the farm from when the cow's born to what happens to them, depending on whether they're male, female. Then give us the whole story of your farm.
Well, I suppose from the beginning, obviously, and I see you mentioned it there, and it's something I meant to come back on a video, but I never did. What we do, we AI. We AI some of our cows, and we put to a bull the rest of the cows. The cows that we need for breeding, the ones that will be healthier genetics. When I say healthier genetics, in that we need an animal that we need, and they need it themselves, to be an animal that is robust. You can choose to breed in lots of different directions, and same as with humans, there's different races within humans. Likewise, there's different races within cows. So in the past, it would have been gone more towards higher yields and production. And I found that didn't really work for us, especially here in the northwest of Ireland. We couldn't, not that the animals were quite happy and content, but they were under a lot of pressure. You were raising marathon runners. So anyway, I'm breeding then more towards a robust type of animal, a smaller British Frisian type animal. She is inseminated, or the heifer is inseminated. We do the AI ourselves. I do it myself. My father does it. Basically, what you'd see in the video though, she's rammed up in a crush and she's doing whatever. In a lot of cases, I just do them when they're standing there in the passageway. These are girls.
Sorry to cut you off for a second, but I don't know if a lot of people know exactly what that is. When you say AI, yeah, so maybe you could explain that.
Right, artificial insemination is where the bull will give a quality bull will give his semen up and
And
the
how do you let's go even back a step further. And so how does that work then? So how does the semen come from the bull, and how do you get it into the cow?
well, basically the AI stations, the company, the cooperative would move back a step further would have the DNA of all our stock. A company called ICBF would have the DNA of all our stock, and they would then choose the best, most viable animals. And for various areas that resistance to disease, so we used to use less antibiotics, more production per kilo of live weight, so that they're not under pressure. Um, Basically, and I say more production, more production of solids as opposed to volume. Look, as I say, I could give you a whole thesis here, like go to a rabbit hole of
Sure, yeah.
back and back and back and back for me.
No, it's more just. I understand. It's more just for people that don't understand or don't know how the bull's semen gets to the cow. So,
Frozen. He basically would be in a bull station. He would jump an artificial cow. His what do you call it? His semen would go into an artificial vagina, and or his penis would go into an artificial vagina, and the semen comes out the other end. He enjoyed it.
Okay. Sure.
Look, he wouldn't do it if he didn't enjoy it. That's going to be guaranteed. There is lots of different in any of these operations. There is bad people. Likewise, there is bad people in hospitals. There's bad people in schools. There is bad people in every industry. So I'm sure there'll be somebody come up and say, "Oh, the bull is electrocuted," or whatever, or he isn't, because it doesn't really leave good semen. But there is going to be videos out there. People say, "Well, definitely that is the way it is done." In general, it isn't. And as I say, I'll probably mention that again a couple of times, but in general, it is not. There's not a lot of bad practices. No, there is no bad practices knowledgeably undertaken by the vast majority of farmers. Suppose moving back, we again they get the semen is then frozen. Is then I get in a pot cryogenically kept. I then thaw that semen out. I then AI put into a gun and AI the cow. The cow offers herself up for me to come in behind her and put my arm up. And if it was, the arm is massive or whatever, it's actually smaller than a lot of.
Put the arm up. Put the arm up where exactly? Sorry, again, I'm not. I know, but it's for some people who don't know.
I put it up her bum, like.
Okay.
And basically, I put up her bum and put the sheath, what's called a sheath, on it. I hold the uterus, and then gently slide the sheath into the uterus and inseminate the cow.
Okay.
This is the same. Like, yes, if I shove my hand up your ass, you'd be really annoyed. The cow would not stand there voluntarily, and if you want me, I can send a video of whenever I'm doing it next. Won't be doing it for a couple of weeks yet. Where the cow is quite happy to be served. I can't say any more than that, unless you want to quiz me any more detail on it.
No, that's all right. So we can I mean, I just want to get the full picture before we get into anything more. So then obviously the cow has the calf, and so tell us what happens then on your farm specifically. So if they're a male calf or a female calf, then what's the process for each of these?
Well, not only if they're a male calf or a female calf, as I spoke there about genetics. We will use beef or dairy. It isn't just like a lot of the stuff that you would see isn't black and white, and I really could spend the whole video talking about what way the calves go and what is the best thing for the calves and so on. The best, what I do personally, is that we would put an awful lot more stock in calf to beef animals. Mainly because those animals are going to be used and are more viable. And that'll be another something I want to touch on later, is that why is that animal alive? I don't particularly want to be raising animals that in some areas across the world are seen as waste. And I think that is utter disgrace. Every living thing has a purpose, including you, me, the birds, the bees, everything. And in my belief, their purpose, they need to be, we need to manage them as best as we can to make sure they have the best purpose possible. Financially, it makes no difference realistically to me. In the greater scheme of things, is what calf she has, and as long as I have so many heifers to, as long as I have so many heifers to to replace my cows, I'm happy. So I could put them all in calf to Frisian, and then have these skinny Frisian bull calves around the place that really are for the environment not a very. They have a place, but they don't have a place more than they're needed. If you know what I mean, you could end up bringing yourself into a far bigger population than you actually need.
So if I'm understanding correctly, just correct me if I'm wrong. If it's not necessarily the gender that you're determining it by, it's something else or whether they go for beef or whether they go for dairy.
You'll be breeding for dairy, and likewise within the seasons, I'd be breeding a higher yielding animal that would calve in the winter for the liquid milk production. So I have less animals calving in the winter. Those heifers then will go on to calve. So I have less animals calving in the winter, but those animals I would choose to be a higher production type animal because they will be fed on meat and preserved grass silage. So it's more efficient for them and myself that they will be a high production type animal. Likewise, you go to the other end of the spectrum. In the spring, I would be breeding a lot more cows calving, so I'd have a lot more beef coming off them, and they will be either going into suckling. A lot of the heifers out of my cross. This is not everybody's cross, but out of our cross and our cows, a lot of people would like the type of animal that we have. So that Angus, more than likely Angus or short-term cross Frisian, is a nice starting point for your beef animal. So that animal, the heifer will then go on and she become a suckler cow, which is a cow that maintains the calf by her side her whole life, until she weans the calf. Obviously, you're not still beside your or anything like that. So that will be that system, and that would suit a different land type where you justify dairying or anything else.
So if we focus a little bit more on the beef calf, then just to know the life cycle again, I want to know what specifically you do on your farm. So a calf is born, and you have determined that they're going to be a beef animal. So what will tell us the life cycle of that animal?
Well, there's male and female, and the male, both of them. Locally here, we will be in an area where it's predominantly sucklers and predominantly beef. We'll be in the minority. There's only 4 or 5 of us out of about 200 or 300. We're dairy, and the rest of the people are all predominantly suckling and sheep. So in a lot of cases, I would have they would have cows that would have maybe too much milk, or that unfortunately have lost a calf. Which happens. It happens in human life. It happens everywhere, and usually I've had calls in the middle of the night of some devastated farmers where something has happened, or whatever. The cow was laying the calf, or the calf was just dead at birth for no particular reason. It wouldn't be that regular, but let's say, as I said, the percentage wise, they will call us up, and if we had a calf that was just born, they would go straight onto another cow and live their life on that cow. That is generally what we do, but that's not by design. That's by other people's misfortune or whatever.
Sure.
So that wouldn't be something I would be writing a business plan on. And let's say I'd say others would have cows that would have too much milk, and they would take a couple of our calves, the beef calves, to rear on that cow alongside the calf as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like at the moment, we are unfortunately locked up with TB. Like coronavirus, as I'm sure everyone is aware, you have to isolate. And within TB is bovine tuberculosis,
Yep.
which is transmittable to humans. Um, so we have to be very careful with it. And it's very prominent in a humid country like Ireland and England and the Midland Europes. It's not so much anywhere else in the world. There's other diseases that they would have that we wouldn't have. However, it is a notifiable disease. We have to basically curtail all our movements. We can't sell any stock. We can't buy any stock. We can't do anything. So I'm currently those calves that I was talking about that go on to other farms. There wouldn't have the many that some years said, but there is a few, and there's a lot. There's 6 born in the last 2 days. That's why I was late. So apologies to people who were waiting for us online. They will be reared on a bucket, Teton bucket, for 12 to 20 weeks, depending on the calf and depending on the weather. Nothing in this part of the world is black and white. You listen to the Americans and you listen to other people go, oh, this is bang, 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 so many days, so many days, so many days. We can't necessarily do that. So any days I say to you here would be negotiable by the weather, by the humidity, by diseases, by other variables that we would have in this area. Those calves, they are now reared by hand. They get their mother's milk. I keep their mother's milk specifically for the first week to 2 weeks, depending on how similar the dams are. If there's 2 dams that are very similar or related or whatever, I will give the milk from one of them to the 2 calves or whatever.
Sure.
But in general, I try and keep the single dam to the single calf for disease and everything else.
Sure.
Beyond that, generally, I would feed calf milk replacer, also for disease prevention purposes. Because if I have an outbreak, let's say of TB, as I said, in the herd, while I'm constantly monitoring for that, I don't want to be giving TB to my calves. Any of our milk that goes out for human consumption, in all cases, is always pasteurized, homogenized, and whatever. So there's never any real risk. There's no risk, zero risk to the greater population.
Sure. We're focusing. Sorry, just to make sure I'm following you correctly. So you say 10 to 20 weeks, right? So the beef calf would be on your farm in your car with all of this that you're talking about now, where you've used the replacement after 2 weeks, you said, and then what happens after between 10 and 20 weeks? What happens then? What's the next part of the process?
That calf would have been gone from a couple of days after birth, 10 days after birth, whatever, because the person would have had it stuck on another cow. What will happen more than likely this year will be I will keep that stock, and we will rear them to to next winter anyway, depending on if we're locked up or not. But let's say, just for ease of discussion, let's say I decide to keep them because it'll be the same thing that somebody else will do. So I will keep them and feed them accordingly, put them into batches, separate the bulls from the heifers. Because I have Angus's, I won't have to worry about dehorning or any of those other practices. If I am dehorning, it is quite perfect. You give them an anesthetic and take the horn off or whatever. But in general, they're a very easily managed animal. I then put them out to grass. They will stay out from grass from about 1st of March until our last year's calves, that's the dairy herd calves, are still out of grass. And they're quite happy where they are. And they'll be out of grass probably until about the 2nd week in January.
Okay.
And give the ground a break. That also depends on weather and weather conditions. And like say a couple of years ago, if it was absolutely freezing and there was no, it was just pure wet rain and it was just horrible all the time, they will be brought in straight away. So they basically have the choice of whether they want to be in or be out. They'll let you know
Sure.
fairly quickly when you go to meet them.
And
Uh,
what's the next part of the process then? After this is what I'm trying to get to here. So they're born, then you do these processes.
Other
They
raised,
go
yes.
to they have the milk, they go outside, they eat the grass, and then
Yeah.
what? How long is it up until when to the next point when you would say, I don't know what you would call it, but I guess when the next part of this process, because they have to, well, they're beef animals according to how you
Yeah.
define them, so they have to go and be processed, as you would say. So what is this? So what is the next part of this process? When does this happen and what happens?
I wouldn't put it so clinically as you do, but like it's something that the terminology. I do love these animals. Like I do not. I put them first over anything else. Just to be clear on that, I don't see this as what you would see in America as a process, as a number, as a large feedlot situation. My
Could
daughter
I
out.
yeah.
So
Could I
sorry.
quickly interject just one quick second there? It's hard. I didn't bring you on here for a conflict, but it's hard for me to take that statement seriously when you keep referring to them as stock. So it's you ask me, tell
Yeah,
me you don't see them as a process, but then you call them stock. So I'm following your terminology here. That's all.
that's fair enough. But how would I put it? My my how somebody grows up with a word. A word means one thing to one person and another thing to another. Um, and I'm more talking about the system. I, believe it or not, love these animals. These are friends of mine, and they are genuinely friends. I know it is difficult for people to make that leap about what I'm about to say next. That you wouldn't send your friend to slaughter. You wouldn't kill your friend. But in this world that we're living in, things are not as simple as people like to make it out. I I have a choice. I can either go out there tomorrow morning and just treat them with the bare minimum of respect, use a stick, use whatever. Most farmers just be very brutalistic with the animals. I don't. I'm not. I don't have that in me. So when you say stock, yes, I do use the word stock. I do use other words. I've seen you criticizing. I'm not critiquing Tom Pemberton before. I
Yeah.
don't think Tom looks down on his animals in any way at all. I think he has great respect for them. I try to have great respect for animals. And I say try. You try to love your wife. You try. You have to keep trying. Doesn't mean you're not the best. Haile Gabriel Selassie is still trying to be the best runner in the world. Or maybe he's not anymore, but whoever is, you're always trying. So yes, I try to do the best for the animals every day. For how those words come across to you and how it is interpreted, I think can get lost in translation. Um, I suppose where I'm coming from is that I have I had a choice. I was working in Dublin and I was making very good money. I was working in an industry that I really loved in agriculture. I was negotiating milk price, so I had that connection with the industry that I've grown up with and everything. And I could have said, no, I'm staying here. I'll stay in this nice job, and no job was cushy by any means, but I didn't have to get my hands dirty, and I was working to a schedule. To give it all up and to make less money, have a less regulated life, probably see my kids a lot less than I thought I was going to. Um, I don't use the word stock in a derogative term. Now,
Understood. Could
some
I,
people,
uh, could I, could I, sorry, can I pause you for a second?
I'm glad you brought me up on that.
Okay, no worries. Could I pause you for a second? We've just had a quick a super chat actually from somebody. So this means that somebody has paid to ask a question, and
My,
as it's a reasonable question. I won't put any of these on the screen that are unreasonable. I won't put anything on the screen that's abusive or anything like that. Don't worry. But this is a fair question. So since Ideen asked and paid to ask this, thank you so much for using the super chat, Ideen. She asks, John, do you ever feel bad separating the mother and the baby cow from each other?
Do I ever feel bad? No. I separate, as I see other people commenting on it. These are a different breed than us. I won't say they're not less. They're not less than us. They're not more than us. They are on the same categories. However, they don't look at things the same way as we do. Yes, there is cows that will give out and say whatever, then give out and start looing for the calf. The minute a cow will loo for that calf, I will let her back into the calf, and the calf will suck it. I then have to take the cow out for feeding and so on and so forth. And generally, the cow, if the cow wants to come back, she gets to come back, and generally she doesn't. Out of, I'd say only 1 or 10 would cry for the calf. And the calves, I suppose I've grown up with this, and I never said that to myself growing up. Do I feel that this is the wrong thing to do? But since coming into the internet era, you get this question quite a bit, and you see people, and some people will dramatize it massively. But there is different people out there, and there are different cows. There will be other herds out there that the cows would go ballistic if you took the calf away from them, and they don't take the calves away from them, and they rear the calves consistently alongside them. I got neglected to say, up until this year, I also had, before I took over the dairy herd, but simultaneously for the last couple of years, I've had a suckler herd as well. Now, I could not take those calves off those cows. If I took those calves off those cows, they would kill me. And I'm not joking. There's plenty of videos and stuff out there of damage that some mother cows, dams, as we call them, dams will do to the human. They'll go through steel to get to the calf. Absolutely. There's not a hope in. It's actually dangerous to go tagging the calf or to do anything, to handle the calf at all, even to do various basic medical things that we need to do, like to put iodine on the navel, to just check everything is okay, to go near that calf. She would kill you. And that would be particular breeds and particular types of animals. But the Holstein Friesian type, no, they don't breed. They're working. They're quite happy to go down to the silage, eat silage and grass and meal or whatever is on it. And
so I appreciate you asking that question. Thank you for that. And as you can see, we're open to these questions, guys. So if you want a question, if you have a question for John or for both of us or a topic, then use the super chat and we can pop it up on the screen. So thank you for jumping off topic and answering that. And we'll go back to the topic now, because there was a question I had for you, actually. I wanted to continue with understanding what happens with the beef cows. So as you would refer to them, the beef cows, I suppose the cows that have been chosen to be used for beef, I guess, is what I'm getting at.
Just to be clear, cow is the female. The cow is the female, and she will go for breeding. As in, she will have calves of her own. The term that will be used will be bulls and steers will go for meat production.
Okay. So after you've raised them, then, and they've been are you okay? Are you all good? No worries. Go ahead.
Run again. Sorry.
So it's all right, mate. Don't worry. So after you've raised them, they've fed them with the. Are you all good?
Our children are bursting in here. Sorry.
It's all right. No worries. So yeah, after you've raised them, you've had them on the milk for a while. Then you had the replacement, and then you had them eating the grass, and now they are at the point where they are leaving the farm.
Well, in general,
Do you go kill them on the farm? Do you go with them to the slaughterhouse? Do you put them in a truck and they're taken away? Like what happens next?
Generally, I wouldn't. This is the whole beef industry is a very different industry. I'm involved in the dairy industry. basically. I'm not a beef farmer. So I wouldn't have the contacts or the general know-how or knowledge to care for those animals, or the housing to care for those animals in their last few months or maybe a year. It's not my system. So I would bring those calves. Either I would sell them to people that I know, or put them up on local Dundee, or more than likely I'll go to our local Ballymote livestock market,
Okay.
where they are well looked after. With that whole side of things, there is massive stipulations from Europe and whatever. It's what we can do. We can only move those animals so many times,
Yeah.
because in the past there would have been a lot of trading and, you know, wheeling and dealing, and you know, buying a bullock for a few months and then selling them on again, and buying and selling, and so on and so forth. So that has all been curtailed to 2 to 3 movements, depending on the age of the animal.
Okay, so could I ask then about, so if that's something you're removed from. You mentioned earlier that the female calves that are born onto the farm, they'll replace you used the word heifers, I guess, I think that's the word you used. So when you say replace them, so that's where I want to go next. So what happens to, what do you mean replace? So when do you consider a heifer in need of replacing, and what happens to her when she's in need of replacing?
A heifer is a young cow, is a female, is a girl, is a heifer.
Okay.
And when she goes in calf, then, and she has a calf, she's a cow or a lady, the same definition. So she, you're basically, I can get you're going at me there. I'm told what happens to cows at the end of life, and why do we need to come in and have replacements? Well,
On your farm, I mean, because I don't want to assume anything, I want to know.
no
Yeah.
animal lives forever. No human lives forever. We would be very lucky in that we have a very high lactation number, in that we would be able to keep the cows quite a long time. And I think that would be down to several reasons, in that we will be a smaller herd, and like that would have chosen good genetics and so on. But where most of our cows would go to other farmers who need cows for milk, because other beef farmers, they will go into retirement. We joke they go into retirement because it would be a customer base that my father would have built up over the years, where other suckler farmers wouldn't have enough. As we spoke earlier, cows have too much milk. Then there's also the problem where other farmers' cows would pass on. And there'll be several guys that will come and buy cows off us that will be older, or that might have a lame leg, or might have taken an infection and been cured of it, but isn't fully right since. These are all things that happen. Humans as well. So I know people who say, "Oh, you shouldn't have any lame cows." I shouldn't have any lame cows. I shouldn't have any sick cows. I will do anything, and I do my best not to have any animals that would get sick. We wouldn't have that high issue rate, but any animal like that, we would sell on to another farmer for him to rear calves on there. That he would use the milk of that cow. That would be about 50% of them. 25% of them would go to the factory to be brought into. Basically, nearly all our meat will go into McDonald's, into the burgers.
A factory. So you mean a slaughterhouse here, right?
Yes.
Or an abattoir, or okay.
Abattoir, yeah.
And how do they leave the farm exactly? Do you to take them yourself, or how does that work?
No, I don't take them ourselves. It's I have done in the past, but time-wise and just it's a large part of your day when there's fellas there to do it very professionally, and would have more high-powered vehicles than I have, to make sure that the ride is as comfortable as possible. That will be a big thing nowadays, in that the factory animal has to arrive in there very, very, very good condition. Because rightfully so, there's an awful lot more checks and balances, and especially coming from the UK, where a lot of animal rights activists have come in and seen problems, and things have tightened up. And things have tightened up an awful lot. A lot of what people thought was okay is no longer okay. And
Sure.
animals will go in there in a cattle trailer, and that's why I would get a professional to do it. I don't have to, but it makes more sense for me to get someone that does it every day. So like Keelan there were coming along, he'd take the cows or Liam, and they would bring them straight to the factory, and that would be them.
Okay.
Unfortunately,
And you say there's another 25%. There's another part. Is it? You said there was 50 and 25.
yeah,
And
that they would. Well, they're rough figures now. So somebody
okay, it's okay. I'm just keeping up.
roughly,
That's all. I'm trying to keep up.
I don't. They would be animals that would pass on gracefully in their own time, and that would be of animals at the end of life. That wouldn't be 25% of the herd. That would be 5% of that end of life.
So now
things, well, even be 20%. Probably wouldn't.
Sure. So now I'd say now we understand. I just wanted to, before we get into anything else, I wanted to really, because you were saying in the call we had that you felt like you were being misrepresented by a lot of, my videos or vegans in general misrepresent maybe what your farm is like. So I wanted to make sure we established that for myself and also for people watching. So now they know when we talk about farming, when we talk about any practices, we're not going to talk about general. We can talk about, okay, specifically you, because this is you're here on the live stream. And when we're talking about other practices and other farms, we can refer to them as like, okay, this is maybe not your farm, but it's other farms. So now we know, I just wanted to give you a fair kind of representation. So just to kind of like circle back round to the beginning, and I guess this is where I want to start getting into some more interesting stuff and some more deeper stuff. And also, please, if you have any topics you want to bring up as well as we go through this, then please, just introduce it and we can get into that as well. But where I want to begin, ideally, is with the right at the start, we talked about how the cows, you say they actually allow you to artificially impregnate them. They don't need to be tied up. You said they don't need to be in a cattle crush, which for those who don't know what a cattle crush is, it's just a large metal instrument that holds the head in place so they can't move. And a lot of farmers will say it's to keep them secure, like as in it's safer for them as well as the farmer. But ultimately, it doesn't. I know you'll disagree with me on this, but obviously it's quite a disturbing thing to see. Put it that way. It's for people. But look, that's okay because as you said, it's not something you do. But I want to focus on what you do specifically.
I have a cattle crush too. I will not deny that. I do have a cattle crush too.
Sure.
And I suppose the word crush isn't what it does. And the vast majority of the animals, dairy side of things, wouldn't actually use the headlocking gate at all.
Yeah.
Some of them do.
I mean, it holds them in place. It holds them in place. Whatever we can dress it up in all different ways, but basically the idea is that it keeps them in one place so that they can't hurt you and they can't thrash around or whatever. But it is designed to keep them still. But just sorry, we've got another super chat before we continue. Let's just quickly. Oliver's asked a question. That's a good question. I was going to come to this question later, but it's been asked already. Thank you for asking a question, Oliver, and using the super chat. He's asking, have you ever been to the slaughterhouse to see what happens and how they treat specifically your animals, and watch them go through the whole process in a slaughterhouse, or is it something you've not done before?
I have. I was very young at the time. I haven't gone in the last few years. I was in one in England a couple of years ago, right? And I was in one in Donegal, a small operation where we had a few pigs as well. We had a bit of everything when I started off here, and I never really clarified that in the beginning as to where I would like to be. We never spoke on the financial side of things, but we had a few pigs, and I suppose they were called Kate and Carmel, and. So they're the most recent ones of my own that I could really speak of, and I speak of them all. But when they went in to the slaughterhouse, they were treated very well. It wasn't anything like what you'd see on some of the videos.
Did they not shoot them in the head and slit their throat then, or how was it done?
They shot them in the head and slit them in the throat. Yes.
So I'm just a bit lost on the niceness of that. Sorry, mate. I need to pull that up. Like, how was that nice in your
I
eyes?
understand. No, but like say, if you see some of the videos out there, you'd see them trashing and literally having to be caught, and the animal's afraid and all this kind of stuff. Thankfully, they don't know where they're going. They have no idea, not not an idea where they're going, and all of a sudden it's curtains. Um, if the,
Do you believe the animals are? I mean, of course, that you know that the animals, like the, especially, well, all of them, basically, like they're not as mentally, let's say, evolved as humans. We know this, obviously, but in terms of scent and hearing and their senses of the space around them, I mean, I'm sure we can agree that they are far more capable than we are. You know, and something that something that's really apparent is that we can read their body language and they can read our body language and they can sense situations without using verbal cues, like non-verbally. So, I mean, to suggest that they have no idea where they are, do you not think that may be a little bit, a bit of a stretch, really? I mean, they can smell blood and they can sense when there is danger. They're not stupid,
No, they're definitely more intelligent than us. Let's say, for example, the cows, if they say they're not going to go into the parlour to be milked, they're not going in. And there's generally a reason that I cannot see for life nor money. And it just rarely ever happens now. But it is more than likely something like a stray electrical voltage or something like that we can't see, and they know there's going to be a problem. They are more sensitive to electricity than we are, and so on. But yeah, so no, they are very, 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 very clever. Like I do see videos there from scientists saying, "Oh, this dog has figured out how to knock, or ferret has managed to go into this or whatever." I put in new feeders in the parlour recently, and them buggers had figured out how to get more nuts within about 24 hours on two visits. They knew that if they hit it in a certain way, they get nuts. So yes, you are absolutely 100% right. They're very, very intelligent. Well, what I was saying is that you were asking me there, did I? And that was why I said they were shot and they were dead, and it was curtains. Yes, you can see videos where an animal is frightened. I don't know the full situation. I don't know if that's a factory where there's large banging noises going on or whatever. All I know is where I went, and when I seen the two pigs, I think that most definitely more intelligent than cows, and pigs are quite with it. But those two pigs, they had no idea it was coming, and that was the way I would have wanted it.
Do you think that's maybe the way that you'd like to see it? I mean, that's the way I'd like to see it. I'd like to imagine they have no idea what's going on. It'd make me feel a lot better,
Would I like to see it? Oh yeah, of course that's the way I'd like to see it. That's the way I want it to be. But
of course,
yeah. What happened? Yeah, I took a picture of it. I don't know where it is. It was in it. If you can go back and you can look and you can see my Instagram. It's somewhere in there. You're talking about confirmation bias. No, there's certain times for confirmation bias and certain times not. And mostly for confirmation bias is for negative connotations. I would have. I don't think I would have been able to ride across them going in there and having see a fella bait the shite out of them to bring them in. These are two pigs that we raised from Bonhams, and this is where the whole crux of the issue is what is the purpose? What is the purpose of me? What is the purpose of you? What is the purpose of the animals, and so on and so forth? And why do we exist? And we don't know why we exist. The meaning of life isn't obvious.
I'm sure we could reach an agreement that no one should be born to exist simply to be used and killed by someone else. That seems like a bit of a. I mean, it's a purpose that maybe we might forcibly assign on someone, but it's not like that's what they're born to do, is it?
I think it is. Yeah, it's called the circle of life. Let's say if the whole world went vegan all of a sudden, there'd be not animals. If the animals didn't eat, if the bird out there didn't pull the worm out of the ground, it's a whole ecosystem.
So you believe the breeding, so artificial insemination is part of an ecosystem? Is that, or am I misrepresenting your point here?
Everything's part of an ecosystem. Yeah, it would be in that in that we have created as a human race this ecosystem, and if I didn't go down the artificial insemination or the selective breeding route, we would have an animal that was around 100 years ago. We wouldn't have the advancements that, like, those animals now can produce more milk with less methane, with less fertilizer, with less. They can do more with less. And essentially, to cut everything back to its basics, we need, in this country and all over, we need protein to survive. India, they don't have a massive animal population. They're the biggest cattle herd in the world, but not per person, because they can grow. They're in a better climate. They can get their protein from nuts, peanuts, and chickpeas, and all these other products that they have, which are far easier grown there than here in most Northern Europe. Like, we can say, oh, we can do this, we can grow that, we can grow the other. I can guarantee you that when times were tough back here in the famine, in Ireland and in other countries where it was really, I'm digressing totally, apologies.
It's okay, I'm trying to keep up a little bit, yeah. So I guess there's 2 points you're making here. That one is that this is a circle of life in an ecosystem, and two, that it's not possible to survive on other forms of protein in Ireland. Is that what I'm understanding?
Ireland.
Or
No, not possible. Oh, it's possible, but it's not economically viable for everybody, because people, you come around and people say, "Oh, John, if you grew grain on your farm, you could, substitute your income and do something that wasn't that didn't have animals involved." My farm wouldn't grow grain. If I could grow grain, I would grow grain for my animals and not import it or buy it from somebody else. Yeah, it's too wet. Likewise, protein. One of my limiting problems when I'm designing my diet for the cows is protein. If I could grow protein, I would feed it to the cows. If I could grow protein, I probably would feed it to you directly. But that's not going to happen because I can't grow it. We don't have the sunlight hours in this part of the world.
All right, I'm with you. So you're referring to your kind of job specifically, rather than the situation of Ireland. So just to I guess to try to
in general, if you look at the atmosphere side of things, you would see regards as protein versus livestock production, higher lives. Each country would have evolved producing similar amounts of protein per human head, and that evolving would have been different in different parts of the world because of the climate that they would have had.
So just to I guess let's circle back and just focus on the.
Famine, just clarify, during the famine, let's say, for example, when they were all reliant on the potato and all that. If they all had cows which ate a lot of the potatoes too, because they weren't able to grow a protein source, so that cow was more expensive to keep than their children. We had to have to keep the cow for the dairy and for all the other products that animal could produce, that they couldn't just throw a seed in the ground and grow it outside.
All right, I understand. So I'll come back to that, but to start with the first point, the circle of life situation. What you're getting at, I think, is, and tell me if I'm wrong, but it feels like there's a certain type of it's a logical fallacy called appeal to nature. So it's saying that it's natural, it's an ecosystem, it's so that justifies it us doing it. It justifies it happening. It's like quite a common thing. All of us do it, by the way. Even this is not just a vegan versus non-vegan thing. A lot of vegans do the same thing. They say, yeah, it's natural. Like, this is natural, so it makes it good. It's a fallacy, because just because something's natural doesn't make it good, basically. Okay. So, but just to ask a question to you then, to kind of explain this a little bit more specifically. So, if you have an animal that's not, in your eyes, being bred for killing or for using for the milk or whatever, an animal that you have as a pet, it doesn't matter what the animal is. It could be a dog, could be a cow that you have as a pet, could be a horse, doesn't matter. If another animal came to your area and killed that animal, would you still stand by, well, this is the circle of life, it's the ecosystem, or would you not stand by that? Would you actually say, no, this is unacceptable and I'm not going to let this happen again? Which line of reasoning would you go down in this situation?
Well, currently there is no animals in this country that are going to do that to survive.
Sure, but in this example I'm giving you, would you have a problem with a dog, for example, killing a pet chicken that you have, or a fox coming to your farm and killing a pet chicken, or would you say it's the ecosystem?
I see that in other parts of the world, all right, and that always does trouble me, in that they're saying that herds of buffalo, for example, wild buffalo are taking the grass or of farmers in Australia. Sorry, I know that's not a bit divergent, but or foxes coming but taking your chickens. So I get your point. There's two types of. Number one, we are intelligent beings. We should protect our animals to the best of our ability from these issues. There is a problem around here with mink. Mink were brought in for fur farming back in the 70s, and some of them broke out and got into the wildlife. They should not have been in the wildlife. They are vicious, vicious little bastards. And I say vicious little bastards, pardon my language, they kill for the sake of it. They go into a chicken coop and kill that chicken and destroy it and just leave it there, blood bleeding out the neck. So yes, I have an issue with that. But do I have if a fox comes in and takes my chickens, I'm only pissed off. Yes, of course I am. But at the end of the day, at least I know that fox has raised its fox cubs. And it's healthy.
It's 16 hours.
If I had a consistent issue with it, which I don't, I would make sure that fox has enough feed to make sure see what's wrong, what's going on. Why is this ecosystem dying? Why is he all of a sudden having to threaten his own life by coming into my environment and eat my chickens? Some people say, "Oh, go and shoot the fox." No, I don't think we should shoot the fox. I think we should see why is the problem there. How can we solve it for the fox? Can I give him some stuff, or is that going to be a bad thing that he becomes reliant on me?
I mean, it's just. I mean, I guess for these animals, the point I'm making here is, this happens with foxes a lot because obviously they see sometimes these things are open and they can come in and take a chicken very easily, right? But and same with mink, and the point is that if we. What vegans and what a lot of people are going to say to you is that this whole idea of artificially inseminating animals and breeding animals because it's part of the ecosystem, they would find it hypocritical for someone to be saying that this is all part of a system, but then to take issue with the ecosystem in other parts of the world, in other parts of society. Like if a fox comes to kill chickens, well, that's not okay because they're my property. But if I kill the animals, that's okay because I'm profiting from it, and that's the ecosystem. When in reality, isn't it all the ecosystem? If artificial insemination is the ecosystem, then so is a fox killing your chickens. It should all be accepted, or none of it be accepted.
I don't think it's a profit. I don't do this for the money. I could go out tomorrow morning and do other things that I would be more comfortable than I am now. So that's what I should clarify that issue. We'll back there. You said something. I can't think what it was now. Should have written it down.
Right.
Insemination. Insemination. Right. Now that you keep on bringing that, you seem to have an issue with that. I mentioned also earlier about animals being lost. and I said over 25%. That's probably not. I shouldn't be saying that figure because it's not definitely wrong. 25% of them don't die, but pardon me. One of the issues would be, let's say the bull will jump up on the cow and break her leg. Like, you see that happening in wildlife. So, are you telling me that I should not? And that sounds very aggressive. It's not what I intend.
It's okay. No, go ahead, man. It's all right. We can.
Your option is that if I don't AI the cow, I leave the bull in with them, and then he rides away and destroys the cow and can break her leg.
Well, yeah, I understand, but this is obviously this is an issue that This is an issue that's been created, though, by you created that issue by breeding those animals. That's not an issue that a farmer can really complain about because they have created the problem by breeding them.
I'm not complaining about it. I'm saying that's one of the reasons why we do AI.
But then you provide us. Sorry, just to clarify, you provide a solution to that potential issue by artificial insemination, as if that's why you do it, and it justifies it. But it doesn't justify it because you created the problem that you're solving with your own solution. You didn't have to create the problem.
The reason AI is not for that reason. That's a consequential instance. But the bottom line why AI artificially inseminate is down to try to get the best possible genetics so those animals can live the best, longest, most comfortable lives possible, that they're as much disease-free as possible, that they don't...
And as profitable as possible.
Well, right? Yeah. I'm not going to breed something that's not going to be profitable, obviously. But that comes down to another area that I mentioned to you on the phone, it's about profitability and the whole money side of things. I don't know if you know where I'm going. Do you want me to go into that area?
We can. I guess if I could, there was something I was trying to get to before, but we got interrupted by a super chat. If I could just quickly cover that, and then please, we'll get into that. If you want to write that down, maybe. So there was something you mentioned earlier where it was you were talking about how the cow allows you to go behind and inseminate her, which again, just to explain this, it's to insert the hand into the anus and then to inject with the sheath, you called it, and the cow allowing that. A lot of people in the chat might be thinking, what the hell, why would a cow allow that? And what you said was that it doesn't bother her, and that's one potential explanation here. The other potential explanation I wanted to put to you is that there is a concept, a psychological concept. It's called learned helplessness. It's observed in humans, and it's especially observed in elephants. So basically what they did was they've monitored elephants, and as babies in India, for example, I think in India and Thailand, they take elephants as babies. They tie them with a rope to a tree, or not even a tree, sometimes just a little stump in the ground. And as a baby, they can't get free. Now they tie them with this rope, and they keep tying them with that same rope until they're a fully grown elephant. Now they could rip that rope off and do whatever they wanted, but because they learned that they can't escape as a baby, they experience something called learned helplessness. Human hostages have the same thing. So, you find that sometimes they will do a rescue of a police will rescue somebody who was being kept as a prisoner by their father or stepfather, and they won't leave. Even though the police are there, they don't believe they can leave, and they'll say, leave me here, because they're learned that there is no escape over the many years. So it's a really horrible psychological concept, and it's a lot of people, including myself, would absolutely apply this to farmed animals. They learn from a young age that there's no point trying to escape you. There's no point trying to escape. Whatever happens, they're going to be inseminated, whether they like it or not. And they learn that what's the point? What's the point? Like a horse being ridden. They learn that, okay, this person's going to keep riding me, so I might as well stop fighting, because they're going to keep getting on my back, and they're going to keep trying it, and eventually they learn that there's no point. I have to give in, because they're going to sit on me, they're going to inseminate me no matter what I do. What do you think of that then? How does that sit with you? I see, you don't look to agree with it.
No, because she'll only do it when she's on heat. Simple as that.
I'm sorry? Say again, sorry?
She'll only do it when she's on heat, and that's simple as that. I would not go up on the cow that wasn't on heat. She would not stand there, I guarantee you that. So it ain't learned helplessness. I don't understand. So you think that her being on heat makes her want you to put your arm inside her? Is that the logic you're going by here? Well, it's fact. It's not logic.
I'm trying to understand your conclusion. I'm trying to come to understand your conclusion here.
Basically, when a cow is on heat, It's called standing heat.
Yeah.
When she comes to the point in her cycle, she will stand and wait to be served. And you'll see her in the middle of a field, and to their detriment, some cows, if they're extremely, extremely randy, they will stand there all day, and cows will ride the fucking arse off them, and they'll have no skin left in their back if we don't intervene. In some worst case scenarios, where the cow is particularly horny. So that is it's in the breed. It's wherever they will stand there. It's called standing heat. I can't explain any more than that.
I understand what you're saying. Yeah. So you're saying that because they allow the members of their own species to have sex with them, then that's why they allow you to put your hand in them.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. And you think that's something that what they have evolved to see you as the same as a bull? Is that what you think? Is that or do you yeah? What is it? Yeah.
Dick like, they don't see me as a threat. They see me as a friend. I am not a psychologist. I cannot answer your question straight in detail as to whether it's learned helplessness or not. Are we all helpless? Do we all make ourselves happy to be? There's TED Talks there about how everybody who goes through a traumatic experience says that their life is happy or whatever, even though some of the people looking in from the outside, they shouldn't be happy, but they're happy. I can't answer that. I cannot. Yeah. I'm a psychologist. I'm not an animal psychologist. All I know is that if my animals are sad or whatever, I do anything I can to make them happy. As to whether they are happy or sad in their brains, I don't know. I can't read their brain. But you can see that if, let's say, there's things called cow signals, you'd look at rumen function, you'd look at rumen being their stomach and whether the stomach is empty, if they're eating enough for their own content. Is there a reason they're lying down more often? Is there other issues going on in their lives that's not, are they being bullied by other ones? Is there 20 older cows picking on the younger cows? You do all this stuff to make them happier, make sure that they are living a good life. That doesn't really give you a return on income. But you want, like anybody, you want people to be happy. The question was what again? Sorry.
It's okay. It was on learned helplessness. But just to close off this point, I suppose you're talking about making them happy, and this has been like a core focus for you. And you said earlier on, you already did address this, but you did say that a lot of people might find it strange that you would say, I love them, I want to keep them happy, but then also I will sell them knowing that the next person's going to send them to a slaughterhouse, or I will send them to the slaughterhouse myself. And a lot of people would find that very difficult. Do you think, I'm trying to understand the mindset, and I'll just to ask you a question. I mean, I'm going to try and ask it as openly as possible, not to put you in a spot. But do you think that to a certain extent, this you're trying to make them happy whilst they're with you is almost because of you feel bad about what's going to happen to them? Like, do you think you're trying to make it as good as possible because you know the end is going to be horrible? Or what is the reason that you're or what is it if it's not that? What is the reason you want to make them happy if not that?
Because that's what you should do. I don't want to make anybody sad. I don't want to make anybody uncomfortable. Sometimes it happens. Mistakes happen. Mistakes happen in personal interactions with other humans that make people unhappy. But that's not my aim. I don't think it's any human's aim that I'm aware of. You do see some narcissistic arseholes online saying, whenever, let's say, an election, if somebody beats somebody else, they'll say, "Oh, your man was useless. Yeah, we better." Rather than saying, "You did it, ran a good fight," or whatever. You should be gracious in all walks of life. And
but sending them to the slaughterhouse or selling them to farmers who are going to kill them, it's not making them happy. And that's not a mistake. That's something that's done on purpose. So I mean, how do you marry that up? How do you balance that with trying to make them happy, but sending them to have their throats slit? I'm sorry to put it like that, but it really is what it is. Let's not use euphemisms here. How do you marry up trying to keep them happy with paying somebody to cut their throat and taking a profit from that? How does that sit in your mind?
as you leave the profit to the side, because I can guarantee you, it ain't the most profitable industry in the world.
No, but I mean that's why you're doing it, right? Clearly, because you wouldn't do it if you didn't make profit. We already established that you wouldn't breed and raise animals that were not going to make you some profit. You wouldn't do that. So they are for profit.
No, I said I can go into the whole profit side of things if you want me to, but yeah, but I don't want to diverge too much. But no, no, I'm doing it to basically that it's a job where I am feeding other humans, where my milk goes in to the food chain, where people are sustained and survive, and we're in a world where we have the longest life expectancy ever. We have lowest malnutrition rates ever.
And
Uh,
to clarify, you believe that this is all because of the work. This is all because people are consuming animal products. Do you believe that this is why, or do you believe that these products are absolutely necessary for long, healthy lives, or do you believe that these products are helping people to survive? Is this the mindset you're in, that without these things they can't survive, they can't be healthy, or am I misunderstanding?
it's a basic fact, like, people like to think that I wouldn't change tomorrow morning or the industry wouldn't change tomorrow morning. We have a cooperative there, and quite quickly, if we felt that we could sustain the needs of the human population to survive in another way, it does change. Like, we're not producing the same milk products that we were in the 60s and the 50s. I'm not milking the same way as we milked back then. Things have changed. Life changes. Things move on. Um, so if it made sense that we could get a protein source to the country, um, not in any other manner or form, it would happen. Like, I know dairy farmers in London who I worked as a student, now using the water that they were drilling from for the cows is now being bottled and being sold in shops in London. Um, so as Epping water. Um,
So you're of the belief that the population of Ireland cannot survive without animal products, is as it stands. Is that what you believe that for sure?
is that you can't. You need a whole diet. Look, you know that yourself. You, the the diet from, like, you get into a really big kind of area here now. But the diet from the protein from, we cannot grow this. We cannot grow protein sources here in this country, as I've said already. We can't. As we don't have the daylight hours, we don't have the warmth, we don't have the heat, the weather, everything else. That also the fact I don't think that I'm genuinely hurting the animals in the first place. I know I'm not. And going back to seeing Kate and Carmel, and people who've seen those animals, as I told you before, with Kate and Carmel, the two pigs that we had a restaurant here in the local village, and we brought these two people came. They were Jews from Jerusalem. They were Jewish from Jerusalem, and lovely, lovely people. But I had breakfast on that morning, and I did the full Irish, which was happened to be all the products from Kate and Carmel. They were vegetarian, and they didn't, or were they vegan? I can't remember. Um, they basically came along, and they out to the house. They've seen the pictures that we had on the walls of Kate and Carmel. They seen where they lived and everything else. And they basically turned around and they said, "Yeah, this is a very different system than you have than they have in Israel, and it's less intensive. It's more basic." And the animals, while they were alive, had the best possible life possible. Um, the best the only thing I want to do is I keep on saying, and I'm not just saying because I'm here, I say it to anybody, like if we're on a beef task force meeting or anything, we're basically saying, yeah, we want the best for our animals. Like, who doesn't? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So
Yeah.
I basically raise those animals to the best of my ability. I then they go to slaughter. I try and make sure when they're slaughtered, going back to the earlier question, make sure that they are absolutely 100% happy going to slaughter, and that, as I say, going to, they don't know that they're going to slaughter, that they don't know where they're going. By the end of the day, they have had a very purposeful life. Also, there's a whole other area that Kate and Carmel ate an awful lot of food and food waste that we can't eat ourselves. For example, we would go down to the local groceries vegetable shop down the road, and basically all the vegetables, boiled them all up and gave them to two pigs. We could not have, as humans, eaten those because there was various different toxins and so on and so forth. The pig's stomach is very different, even though they are a monogastric. They could eat these things and process them and digest them and go out the other end, and they provided then a proper protein source for us to survive.
Yeah.
In other words, they would not have been here, and nor would they have existed. Also, there would have been a lot more food waste if they did not exist either.
So there's a few. Okay, just to quickly, that last point there, I need to just quickly, before I lose my train of thought, that the idea that they wouldn't have existed if we didn't breed them and kill them is I mean, that logic, we would never apply that to any other situation, right? But I'm not completely disagreeing with you on everything you've said, but that one little thing, I can't possibly, align with you on that. Like, it's not, we can't excuse ourselves from, killing someone just because if they didn't, they wouldn't exist if we hadn't bred them. I mean, but the other things you were saying, look, when you talk about how, all that you're treating them the best way possible before they're killed, and all of the things you've said would make absolute complete sense to me, and I would agree with you 100% on everything, including killing the animals, milking the animals, and everything, if I aligned with you in that all of this was absolutely necessary for humans to be healthy and to survive. If that were the case, we wouldn't have this debate or discussion. I would be on board, and this upsets people. I know this upsets a lot of vegans for me to say this, but I'm not a vegan out of some kind of religion. I'm not a vegan out of some kind of hippy dippy bullshit. That's not why I'm a vegan, right? I'm a vegan out of rationality, logic. I see what's going on. I see that I don't need to do it. I see that I can be healthy without doing it, so therefore I don't do it. It's that simple. That's why I'm a vegan. Now, when we're talking about Ireland, I mean, look, Ireland's not a developing country. Ireland is an established country. Obviously, you have poor people in Ireland, but there are poor people in every country. The population of Ireland absolutely can, live on plant-based protein. Plant-based proteins are grown in Ireland. I know that for sure. I don't know how many, all right, but I know they are grown. But I wanted to ask you...
Of an argument, it is, like... Look, we can argue and we can source things or whatever, but I can tell you for a fact there's two sides of it. Yes, you could go down the route of those DNA produced burgers that were released last week, Beyond Meat. You could go down that road. That's a whole.
I'm not interested in Beyond Meat. Yeah, I have no interest in Beyond Meat. Not whatsoever.
We would not be. I can tell you. Look. I can tell you. There's no point in me freaking citing shit all over the place. We cannot grow enough protein in this country for our own selves. I can't even get the protein from my own cattle without importing it. And
if it saves lives, what would if that were the case? Let's imagine I agree with you completely. I'll take you at your word. Ireland can't grow the protein required for the people of Ireland. I take you at your word. We're established, okay? But what is wrong with importing plant-based protein? I'm not talking about Beyond Beef. I'm not talking about the Impossible Burger. As far as I'm concerned, fuck them. I'm sorry, I'm not interested in that. That's not healthy, in my opinion. It's processed. It's a treat, if anything. It's something that you should have once every now and then for a treat, okay? I'm talking about lentils, chickpeas, rice. I'm talking about nuts and seeds. This is the protein I'm referring to. So what I'm trying to understand is, if there was a possibility to either grow those things, or if not grow them, access them easily and cheaply for the
Well,
entire population,
you mentioned
why not? Why would we not choose that rather than breeding and killing sentient animals that,
well,
as you have established, have
yeah.
feelings and that you don't like to see hurt? You want to keep them happy. Well, I mean, why not look for a
Well,
world that doesn't actually do anything to them then?
you mentioned lentils and chickpeas there, for example.
Yeah.
Go on YouTube and you search lentils and chickpeas and where they are currently farmed. For them to provide enough for, they only go into human consumption, right? It goes into animal. And you go across Canada and you go out and you see some of these videos, and you'll see the soil erosion. You'll see vast, vast fields as far as you can see. And I see several people that are coming up, I don't know if it's on a Twitter feed or on your feed here, that was biodiversity was an issue. Unfortunately, it's gone a bit dark now, but I can show you my fields out here. Maybe you can see them. If you can see it, you can see the
Sure.
biodiversity out there. Plenty of biodiversity. We have
Yeah.
trees. We have everything. We have everything going on. You are, if you wanted me to start, well, we can't grow chickpeas, but within that industry, they are so tight on money and the chemical industry and everything else. You would have a different view on it. The amount of chemicals and everything else that goes into those things. I think those chemicals are fine, but I think that there's plenty of regulation to make sure they don't get into the food chain. But you look at the way that biodiversity and everything else, and you're supporting that and supporting that whole end of things, and obviously wonder where, if we're going to ramp up chickpea production by 1,000%, where's all this ground going to come from? Because they cannot grow in a humid environment. They get very, very affected by blue mold very quickly. Likewise in lentils. I'll send you a link some other time. These are very good farmers, but I wouldn't like to see any more of them.
Yeah,
um,
I'm kind of lost here. I mean, I don't particularly see an issue with. So you're talking about the use of chemicals as being the problem here, right? This is what you're getting at. No. Okay. So what is the
basically
crux?
you have over 1 million acres that are sterile and just growing chickpeas. I
Okay,
don't. It's necessarily a good way to go.
because it's because it's affecting like what the ecosystem
There is
in a negative way is what you're getting at here.
the ecosystem is gone. It's totally null and void. There is no ecosystem. Anything that comes in there is not wanted is nuked. Whereas if you look at what we have here, and this goes on to my other comment that I wanted to make,
Yeah.
was the profitability side of things. And you and the vast majority, I think nearly everybody watching this video is kind of in the higher socio-economic bracket. It will be, well, not say, but will put more money into their food than anybody else, and the highest proportion of their budget will go into food, which will be the main bracket that, let's say, my food will be going into. They locally produced, ethically produced, family produced. Like you see, my kids, my family, we
Hmm.
basically all run this together. You you look across, let's say, YouTube again, you see these things happening in China and in America, quite a lot in America. These vast operations being built, vast. On one hand, you'll see in America, you'll see this poor family farmer being put out of business. And on the other hand, you'll see another guy putting up an outfit for 10,000 to 100,000 cows. 100,000 cows. It's lunacy. That's what's giving me a bad name, because somebody will go in there on a research mission, and because of so many cows going through, things aren't going to be as nice as they are here. You're not going to have a little girl cuddling a cat or making sure that they're all right or checking them at all hours of night to make sure a cat. It's a clinical system. It's,
I mean,
but I'm not
uh,
criticizing the agriculture.
I know for yourself, I mean, we're just pull up on that point. I know for yourself that this is a very big distinction that you make between a Chinese mega farm, for example, and your farm, and obviously for you, in the way you see it, like it's a vast chasm between you and what they're doing, of course, and in many ways it is completely, it is very different. Of course, no one can deny it's different, but the conclusion is the same. That you obviously this may seem as an insult to you to even compare you to one of these farms, and I could understand why it would be insulting to you. But the end of that cow's life, when it comes, it's not like they're treated better because they came from your farm, and they're treated worse because they came from that farm. Like there are factory farms in Ireland, I assume, and also in the UK at least. And you know, if they go to the same slaughterhouse, it's not like when your cows get there, the slaughter worker is going to be extra gentle, and when a factory farmed cow gets there, the slaughter worker is going to be horrible. They're all killed the same way. They all come to that same conclusion. So, I mean, this is where a lot of people would say, okay, yes, we understand it, and it is, you know, you care and you say you care, and that's great, and some farmers don't care, but none of this matters when they reach the slaughterhouse. You know, this is all irrelevant when they reach the slaughterhouse.
I think it does. I think it does. Obviously, I think it does. I think it does in that we, as you have to live a good life. They have to be well treated through their life. And that's as important as the final conclusion. Likewise, that what I'm basically coming from is that the first guy is going to go if there is a pressure on the things, will be the smaller guy, because the big guy will be able to run things more profitably. I do thousands of things that I do that are not profitable at all, that don't make any financial sense.
Yeah.
That basically bringing calves to the vet, and you know, the calves that, you know, that are financially worth very little, putting hundreds, if not thousands, of euros of drugs and operations and everything into trying to save that animal and make sure it has a good life. It doesn't make financial sense. So that's one thing you keep bringing up, that it's profitable or whatever.
Yeah.
It's not my bottom line. It's a big part. I have to make a living. I can't do this philanthropically. But it is basically a not why I'm doing it. I want to make a living, obviously.
So there's something we can agree on again. Like you said that I understand what you're saying when you tell me that, yeah, in the scale of the world and all the farms in the world and all the things going on in the world, I would have to say, and again, I don't know if I'm going to piss some people off in the comment section, but at the end of the day, this is how it is. You and what you're doing with this farm, with these cows, comes down, you know, not at the bottom, but definitely lower on the list in comparison to what else is going on in the world. It doesn't mean I agree with what you're doing, and it doesn't mean that I don't believe that what you're doing. I believe that what you're doing is ethically and morally wrong, but I don't believe that I personally would target you and your farm before targeting other mega farms in the UK or mega farms in Australia or mega farms in the USA. There's no doubt any vegan that says they would try to, like, I don't know, let's say take your farm out, like destroy your farm, rather than it's kind of like going to a steakhouse and trying to shut it down rather than attacking McDonald's. It's like, okay, maybe you would have more success in attacking a small business, but at the end of the day, they're tiny. The small business they had is tiny. It's going to make a tiny fraction of a difference, almost no difference. Whereas if you can put a pressure on McDonald's, well, that's a global industry that's going to take, you know, if you can hit them, then that's a huge impact. All right. So I know this is going to sound kind of strange, but I kind of can see where you're coming from in a certain way, in that, yes, of course, you know, you're not the worst of the worst is what you're getting at here. And I understand that. But you're also, in my eyes, as an individual, you're far more likely to hear something like this, to hear out the message that people are talking about in the chat that I'm saying here, because of how much of a small scale you have, because as you've said multiple times, that you don't want these animals to suffer, you don't want these animals to, go through cruelty. Whereas these huge farms, these mega farms that we've discussed, well, I guess they couldn't care less about that, these people. They're just, it's all about the profit. So I do see a difference. But that's why it's way more beneficial for me and you to have a conversation rather than me and one of those people, because I don't think that would be productive whatsoever. So I guess the point is, and it kind of ties into where I'm trying to get at here, is if you found out, let's imagine, you don't believe this now, but let's imagine you do. Let's imagine I can prove it to you, that actually there is a way that Ireland can, the population of Ireland can be healthy and survive and whatever, with products that are grown in Ireland that are not animal based. And that's something that you could actually be a part of. You could actually do that. It's possible. Let's imagine we're in that world now and it's possible. Is that something that you would entertain? Is that something that you would say, right, well, if that's the case, then I would consider switching my situation and not doing this anymore and doing that? Or is there a reason that you would be set on doing this and continuing with the animal farming? Because that's the question I really like to know the answer to.
I would continue with animal farming on a smaller scale. I don't necessarily. I like just have maybe 20 cows and make a living out of it. As regards, is the protein there? No, because I'd be feeding it to my cows if it was. On an economical basis, like people talk about beans and peas and all that kind of stuff. We don't get the consistency of supply at all. Like, people are making comments because they heard this or heard that. I'd be researching this because I'm talking to my nutritionist. We're trying to get soya out of the diet entirely. Soya is going to be out of our diet fairly soon because we have to, because it is not ecologically correct to be involved in the soya production at all. Importing soya across the world. I'm looking straight at trying to bring in protein, so I know it's not there.
So I'm trying to understand, and again, I don't want to strawman you. I don't want to misrepresent you. What I'm trying to understand is that, so if the possibility was there for you to, as you said, it's not about profit for you. We've established that. It's about, or let's say I believe you. I'm taking you at your word here. It's about feeding the people. You say it's about feeding the people. It's about doing the right thing, right? So if it's about that, and if I'm telling you, if I found a way, or somebody found a way, somebody met up with you and found a way that you could actually feed the people with nutritious food. You wouldn't change still. You wouldn't stop farming the animals. But why is that then? Why would you still not change if this opportunity came up? And if you care about the animals, you love the animals, why not stop doing this to them to switch to do something else that actually doesn't end up with them going to slaughterhouses and actually just doesn't breed them, doesn't breed them, use them, kill them?
I don't think that slaughtering them is as bad a thing as people say or do. Like, I'd rather be slaughtered than go through a horrific death.
But you have a choice, though. That you can choose that. You can sit here and tell me I would rather have that. They don't have the choice. If you didn't have the choice, I'm sure this would be a different conversation. If I just grabbed you and sent you to a slaughterhouse, I'm sure you'd be telling me, wait a minute, I didn't agree to this. Like, what the hell? So it's a very different thing. These are two different situations that we're getting into here.
A large part of the problem is the anthropomorphization of the cow. And that they are humans, and that they are basically, yes, as I agreed with you very early on, they are extremely intelligent, but they are not humans. Cows are not humans. Cows are not tigers. Cows are not anything else. They are cows. They are cows, sheep, goats, etc. They have been bred specifically for this purpose for millions, thousands of years.
Well, I mean, humans were bred into slavery for thousands of years. That didn't mean humans were supposed to be slaves.
No, I don't think
thousands of years. Absolutely, thousands of years. Humans were breeding humans for slaves for thousands of years. It's only recent times where this has stopped. We've only outlawed slavery in the last couple of hundred years, but in the ancient humans, they literally bred slaves. As they were bred to be slaves, humans. So
I wasn't aware that they bred them, but to be quite honest about it,
Yeah, look into it. Ancient Egypt, Rome, they had families of slaves and they kept them having, more and more kids, and they kept raising more families and more generations and generations of slave families. This is literally how they did it, and they used, unfortunately for you, similar excuses, similar justifications to do it. Well, they're a different breed. They're not humans. They're subhuman. These are slave humans. They're not the same level as us. They're not as smart as us. They're not as intelligent. So this is keep them in that place and keep them. They have their nice little family. We keep them happy, and then when it's their time, we sell them to somebody else, and that person can do what they want with them. This is how humans treated other humans for literally thousands of years. Thousands.
Humans up until very recently, and still do some horrific things.
Definitely.
And you basically distilled the whole animal welfare issue down to the final days of the animal, the final minutes, seconds of the animal. And within that whole area, I honestly believe that animal is serving a purpose, serving a worthy purpose. When I go into a restaurant or anything, I see people leaving beef behind them. I visibly go up to them and say, "Will you finish that off, please? I worked very hard to actually make that beef. Not only did I work hard, but an animal died for you to eat that." I would be very, very aggressive towards anybody that has any meat or any waste, be it vegetable or any form, left on their plate. I think it's absolute hanging offence. I'm sorry to be so aggressive about it.
It's all right. Yeah.
That is to the point. We had a wedding tasting for my wife and myself, and they came out with the food, and it was disastrous. It was terrible. And I basically, I don't know, I said to them, like, people have worked to make this food. People have worked hard to, not only people have worked hard, but, animals have died to put their bodies on a plate, and you treated it like shite. That is, sorry, Bridge? It's like people have died. Sorry. 1 second.
Yep.
People have animals have died to be put on the plate. Or I've got a milk. I didn't realize.
So I just want to just to call this, just to quickly establish here. I mean, I understand the point you're getting at, but it's not like these animals sacrificed themselves. Their lives were taken from them. They were killed and put on the plate by somebody who wanted to do that to them. They've not given themselves up, But I understand. So it's kind of like the way you explain it is like they sacrificed their lives. They didn't sacrifice their lives. They had their lives taken for that purpose,
Yeah, well, I did. I sacrificed my life. I'm sacrificing my life towards tending to them, tying myself to them, and I have to go shortly.
Okay.
There's, I'm not sure. Shouldn't say why or anything. There's some issue at home.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah. Basically, we could get rid of an awful lot. If we got rid of an awful lot of waste and people being irrespectful and irreverent to all forms of food, we could grow an awful lot less food, as in any beans or anything like that, and maybe more to go around, and also to be less animals going to slaughter if people looked after what we had. Apparently, there's about 20% waste in the food chain. When I went to, I mentioned their slaughterhouses earlier, we went to a slaughterhouse just outside Birmingham on a tour, and basically went in and looked around, and one thing we found absolutely amazing was the care and attention that the
pay to slitting animals' throats. I mean, I'm sorry. I need to really. I understand what you're getting at here. Like I agree with you, and these people are very good at their jobs. Don't get me wrong. I've been inside slaughterhouses. I've seen what they do, and I've seen how they're very, very good at what they do. They're very skilled. They're very trained, and they do it in a way that it's almost like they do it like it's nothing. But it doesn't change the fact that there are people out there that are very, very, very skilled at doing very, very, very horrible things. This doesn't make it any kind of beautiful thing just because they're very good at it.
What I was getting at was the amount of food that was used in that slaughterhouse.
Yeah.
That they basically used the eyeballs, the whole part of the body of the animal, every single part. Whereas what we'd be used here, the eyeballs just go into a skip and so on and so forth. And
they go to like dog food and different animal feeds, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're not allowed to feed, rightly so. BSE stop that, and SRM, specific risk material. But going back there, the humans can eat an awful lot more of the animal and should be eating an awful lot more of the animal, to sort of negate. We don't need to be ramping up numbers and getting more and more and more and more and more and more beef out there. If we could manage what we've got, and if vegans could work with us on that, and yeah, maybe someday life will evolve. Life was here. If I looked at this farm back in the 30s, they were growing oats, they were growing all different other products here. But unfortunately, and this is where I'm going back to my point, in the profitability side of things, whereas you go to a then conclusion in that the smaller guy will be closed down first. Not only we're closing them down, and closing them, we're not getting enough for our product, so that we have to start chasing volume instead of value. About profitability, etc. I can't do this for free. I do have to make some level of money to put clothes in my bank, and like, we're not that wealthy. Like, we get grants for various different parts, but if I could get away with milking 30 cows and on the same land area and base, I think that would make much more sense for everybody involved. So
yeah, I guess. I think, you said you got to go. Sorry, how long do you have, just to make sure I understand your situation?
I'd say about 15 minutes.
All right, so
yeah,
I think this.
Yeah, sorry.
So the core.
Come back again.
Sorry?
I haven't looked at the YouTube questions or comments.
It's all right. So I've got two final things to go over with you then. What the last one is actually is a not really a discussion or debate point. It's just a question somebody had, and I'll just save that for the last one. But just before that, we've already, I'm of the position, and most people in the chat are of the position that the exploitation of these animals is something that it has been done in the past and has had to have been done in the past for necessity for survival. We're in a position now, and as you would, I mean, I guess you would agree with me, that the majority of people are in a position where this is not a necessity anymore. We know that nutritionally it's not a necessity. There's enough evidence out there to show that it's possible to get all the nutrition. I mean, this is even beyond reasonable doubt, because I'm sat here as a lifetime vegetarian and a 10-year vegan. So the fact that the nutritional aspect of it is absolutely fine is right there. Huh?
Volume. You're talking about volume, though. That's the problem. You're talking about volume. It's not actually.
What do you mean? Sorry.
Volume. And go back to my point in the chickpeas. And the volume is not possible for every single person to become a vegan. Volume is not possible.
Oh, you mean right now at this exact moment? Well, no, we don't have a system that's set up for it, but that can absolutely be. It's not something that could never be a possibility. If everybody went vegan tomorrow, then of course you're right. But that's not going to happen. It's going to be, if everybody was going to go vegan, it would be something gradual, and it would be something that we'd have to adapt to. The systems we have would need to adapt. That everything would need to adapt. But that's not. There's not to say it's not impossible to make that happen.
Back to my other point is that I don't think you're necessarily chasing the right area, because let's say you drink beer. I assume.
I don't, but go on. Yeah, let's imagine. Yeah, I'll say I don't, but let's say I do.
I don't either. So anyway, but let's say people drink beer and whatever. The whatever's left over, it's called the draff, and the rose grains, etc. That all goes into our cows here. 10 kilos a day goes into our cows. Of rose grains, that would have nowhere else to go. We can't.
But that doesn't matter. But my point I'm trying to get at here is that's not relevant, because it doesn't matter that it has nowhere else to go. What matters is that our benefit shouldn't come at the expense of someone else's life, regardless of how beneficial it is for me. I don't want to benefit from someone else's, breeding and being kept as like being used for their body and then being sent to a slaughterhouse. I don't want to benefit from that. So even though I would make money or I would make, more use of the things that I have by using an animal, I don't see that as a justification for using the animal. And the reason I don't see that as a justification for using the animal is that there is no trait that we have or don't have, that they have or don't have, that makes it okay. So, for example, a lot of people say like, okay, it's intelligence. That's the trait that makes it okay for us to do that to animals. I know you don't believe that because you know that pigs and cows and all the animals, they have intelligence, right? So you don't believe that we can do this to them just because they're not intelligent, because they are intelligent. But when you actually dig deep into this, there is no trait that defines us or that distinguishes us, that makes it okay. You could say, a lot of people say, well, they're not human. But that's the same excuse that people would use in the past. I'm not talking about only the Atlantic slave trade, but I'm talking about other slave trades where they would label humans as non-human as an excuse to do horrible things to them. See, but that's not a logical thing to use. It's arbitrary. Whether they're human or not is not a point. It's not a justification. So there is actually no trait at all that makes it okay to do it to them, but not to do it to a human. There's no, you know what I'm trying to say here? So this is the point where unless you think there is a trait, and if there is, please tell me what you think the trait is that makes it okay to do it to them, but not okay to do it to a human.
I think that basically the reason it's okay to do it to them and not dogs or whatever other breeds of animals is that it's safe. It's we're not just looking at one thing in isolation here. If how would I put it? We were looking at a whole ecosystem, where, as I said, the brewers' grains, everything else. We're working on a planet that has limited resources. We're working on a planet where we need to stop using fossil fuels. We need to start using every resource that we have more efficiently.
Could I point something out here about resources? The best resource we have, actually, to use, one of the best resources we have is other humans, but we don't do it. You could use child labor and slave labor, and we could have an extremely eco-friendly environment. We could have an extremely good system by enslaving other humans. It would be brilliant for the environment. We could regulate the population. We could reduce the population by killing the ones we don't like. And you're laughing, but this would be brilliant for the ecosystem. So, again, what is the trait? What is the trait that makes it okay for us to not do that, but to do it to other animals? Because if it's ecosystem, well, we could do that to humans, and we could fix the planet.
Well, number one is that those animals, as I keep on saying, those other existing cohabitants of the planet with us, they have been not only bred for that purpose. When they're here, they are happy. We
could do that to humans. We could breed the humans for purpose, and we could keep them happy. But that's not a justification.
You can't use humans or dogs for food because neither of the two are safe.
Safe. I'm not talking about necessarily only using them for food. I'm talking about using their labor to create an ecosystem, to create an environment that would be beneficial for everyone. Because that's what you use. That's what you said is the reason that we can do this to them, because it benefits the environment, it benefits the planet and
the reason I'm laughing is that my children are outside feeding calves. But sorry, that's why I'm laughing. As I don't fully understand the child labor issue, because I'm not involved in that. I'm unfortunately not educated enough into that world.
That's fine. I'm just saying that if we did use them, we could forget children. Okay, I'm talking about people. We could use people.
I'm getting very tired at this stage as well as everything else. So apologies. But yeah, as regards, yes, there has to be a cut-off point. Like, as I said, we are working and not just in isolation on one issue of the animal living or dying. We are working as regards a whole human race, and there's a lot of problems out there at the minute. But one of the most efficient ways of using the sunlight that hits the ground on my farm outside here is for a cow to eat that grass and convert it straight into milk and dairy. That is the most efficient way to get protein into the nations.
Yeah, that's and I guess where I would go, I guess, just to, I guess one more kind of delve into this topic before we move on, is that the efficiency of it is if that is the thing that makes it okay to do it to cows but not to humans, it doesn't stand, because it would be very efficient. It would be very efficient for us to use humans in the same way that we use cows, to use them and exploit them, because we deem them to be, certain ones. We could say, I mean, this has been done to the Irish, in the past. And you know the history of Ireland. You know what the UK, the British did to the Irish. It's been done to the Irish. They've been held as lower class citizens. It's been done to many other communities around the world. So we have done this before because it was more beneficial for us. It was more efficient for us, or whichever. I'm saying us because I'm British, but it could be any group. It's been done. And now we look back and we say, no, that was not okay, because they didn't deserve that. They deserve more than that. And we can't just do things to other people because it's better for us. Because this is what I'm trying to get at with the cows. Yes, okay, I agree, I see it's beneficial. And let's imagine I agree with you that, yes, it is effective, it is efficient. But that alone doesn't justify doing it to them, because they're still sentient beings. No, unless we can define a trait that does make it okay to do that to them, but not to do to humans, which I don't think we're going to find that trait, because it doesn't exist.
Well, do you go out there and stop the bird picking the worm because the worm is right? No.
Well, the bird doesn't have the ability to decide what's right and wrong like me and you. The bird doesn't have the cognition, doesn't have morality. We have that.
I've decided it's not wrong, to be quite honest, and I just find it difficult to understand why it would be deemed, and why it would be deemed wrong to basically give an animal a beautiful life and a humane death.
Because if we applied that, it's because if we applied that exact same structure and that exact same thing to a human, then we would say that's not applicable. It's not okay. We can't raise a human and give them a humane death, in the same way you would do it to a cow, because we would say to do that to a human is immoral and wrong. What I'm trying to establish is why. Why is it immoral and wrong? What is the trait? What is the difference that makes it immoral to do it to a human, but moral to do it to a cow?
Because if you eat a human, you get a communicable disease and you die. Likewise, if you
not human milk. No, absolutely not. Human milk is perfectly fine for consumption.
I don't see anything wrong with milk either, and human milk. But anyway, obviously, I don't see anything wrong with dairy.
Well, milking women against their will and keeping them kept in a breeding them, keeping them, and then killing them when we're finished with them. That's obviously, we're not going to say that's moral, are we? It's against their will. They didn't ask to be bred, didn't ask to be,
What will, those animals, those cows, they can, in our system, every system is different. They have a choice to go in and be milked. Likewise, I said.
Well, they don't. They don't have a choice. If they don't go, they're going to be forced to go, of course, because you need to take the milk from them. That's how the system works.
Poor belly, and they're not happy, and then they go. but
the reason they produce the milk is because you bred them and inseminated them and made them have calves. So again, you created a problem. You can't give the solution to the problem and act like it's a good deed when you created the problem. It's not. You know what I mean?
Humans need milk to survive, and
cow's milk. Humans need cow's milk to survive.
Yes.
So how did that happen?
Whole picture thing.
How did adult humans evolve to need cow's breast milk to survive? How does that make sense?
And you can see that across the world. Like, there's parts of the world where dairying didn't evolve. Most predominantly Africa, where dairying didn't evolve, and that human race has evolved extremely differently. Their gut and their makeup of their insides and the ability to process milk is very different than ours. We have evolved to be quite reliant on milk, and it has proven very good for our side of the human race. You see where the most healthiest people in the past in history have been in general where cows and cow milk has been consumed. That's history.
the healthiest people in history. I mean, we are the healthiest people in history right now. I mean, there's no one healthier than we are, and a large,
people in isolation who take their health, like yourself, very seriously, and you can
yeah,
do by putting shackles on your legs or by basically trying to do it differently, but you're consciously doing it. If the vast majority of the human race don't consciously go out and do get nutritional advice and everything to make sure everything is right with their body.
yeah,
So the dairy is a very energy dense. It's got all the vitamins and minerals that we need to survive in it. It is, and has both been evolved from the cow side, and the human that has had access to it has evolved as well.
Sure, but people being too lazy to do their research isn't a justification for them to pay for cows to be bred and milked and then sent to slaughterhouses. Though the solution surely is then to help people educate themselves on where their nutrition comes from to be able to get all the nutrition they need without contributing to that.
I said you're the outlier. As I said before, it is not possible for Ireland or England to produce enough protein. And I know, let's say beans, but we can't grow it on the scale that we need it. And people are talking about biodiversity and everything else. That will be gone, absolutely gone. And if, let's say, the likes of the GM crops and all that kind of stuff is hampered on the tillage front, there absolutely will be they'll find it very difficult to produce enough protein. We're finding it difficult to produce protein as it stands in the world, in that we're trying we're looking into breeding insects. I don't know where you stand on that.
I've heard about that. I don't want to get too far off topic because we don't have much time, but just I want to just kind of like really establish a point here. I'm trying to really understand what earlier I said if you found that there was a way of producing sustainable protein, you found that the population of Ireland could absolutely not just survive but thrive without the use of animal products, and that you could be a part of that. You said you still wouldn't be a part of that, you would still farm animals. So I'm kind of not understanding what the real driver is for you to continue doing this in this industry, even though that we've been through that. You care for the animals, and I'm guessing you'd rather they didn't, be born to be killed. I guess you'd rather that didn't happen. I mean, I'm going to have to assume it, but considering that you said that you really care about them, I mean, would you not rather they didn't, go to have the throat slit,
I like, go back to the two pigs that we had. That was a revelation in that I did say, oh my God, I'm going to kill these animals. And it was a revelation. A lot of dairy farmers would be kind of, like myself, would be kind of isolated from that fact. And it was, well, I sort of broke it down into who they were, what they did, and how what their role in life. Like, their role in life, and they had a purpose to sustain other life. And then I then sustained other life.
I think we're going around in circles a bit, because I mean this has been established that this is a purpose that you assigned to them. It's not a purpose that they had. And just as I said, it doesn't matter what we assign to them, because as I said, some humans were born as slaves. Humans were born as slaves. They were bred as slaves. They were assigned to be slaves. That doesn't mean that these people were meant to be slaves just because we put that on them. And I say we, our ancestors, both mine and yours, probably had slaves. You realize that, right? And that doesn't make it okay because they bred them to do slave work. It doesn't make these people slaves. So I mean, this kind of assigning a purpose to them, it's not. And obviously, I know what you're going to come back to. That okay, but these are not humans. But as we have to go round again and say, well, okay, then if it's okay to do it to them but not to humans, we need to define the trait that makes that difference. And if we can't define that trait, then we have to acknowledge that there isn't any relevant difference that makes it okay to do this to a pig or a cow, but doesn't make it okay to a human. And then that means that we have to do absolutely everything we possibly can to not do this to them, which would include looking at alternate protein sources, which would include looking at running a business that doesn't do this to animals, because there's no reason that we should do this to them and not to humans. You know what I mean? That the moral value, of course, you put more moral value on a human. I understand that you put more moral value on a human, but that doesn't mean that the animals have such little moral value that they deserve to be bred, inseminated, sent to different places and then eventually be killed. It's not something we would do to humans, and we can't define the difference between them as any trait. So then we have to not do it. We have to do everything we can to not do it.
I have to say I disagree, but I suppose I want to get back to my core point in that there does need to be less waste. There does need to be less animals brought to slaughter. There does need to be less animals used. We do need to eat in moderation. And one thing that I said to you before was that we are in an era where we're in mass polarization. Look at the US elections. It's very hard to agree with either side. I'm sitting in the middle. I don't agree. Let's say I haven't heard an awful lot about Joe Biden, but one of the guys that was going for election beside him, he was extremely on the left side of things. And I didn't agree with Trump. But because I didn't agree with either of them, and this is where I'm kind of coming from with my position on animal farming, is that I don't agree with these guys. You see, what's it, mukbang or something on YouTube, where people take burgers and stuff them.
Okay.
Like that.
I mean, I understand where you're coming from, and I don't think anyone in the comments is going to disagree with you on most of your points. But I guess there's a core difference between Trump, Biden, and between veganism and animal farming. In that animal farming is directly taking animals, breeding them, using their bodies, kind of taking things from their bodies for whatever you want to call it, for profit or for feeding the people or whatever. But the crux of it is that it can be avoidable. And if we can avoid it and we can make efforts to avoid it and to not do this to animals, then we absolutely should, because they have enough moral value to deserve not to have this done to them. That's the point I'm getting for here. But I mean, I guess I don't know. I guess you've got to go. I don't want you to go before we get to the final point. But somebody did ask a question that's a nice question, and they paid for it. They did a super chat. So I want to put it to you before you leave, because I guess you've got to go soon, right? All right. So the question here, I'll just put it. I'm gonna have to read it out to you because I've lost it. But basically, it's from 1 minute. Let me just get the username. Where's she gone? It's from Ideen again. Ideen Melly. She says, John, did you ever try to eat plant-based for a day? So like to eat a vegan diet for a day? And she says, do you have pets at your farm that live with you and your family? So she has 2 questions for you.
Yes. I call all my animals my pets. We have a dog. And several more feral cats. Did I ever go vegan for a day? Yeah. To be several days I go without eating meat or dairy. Maybe I can't say on dairy, but it wouldn't be obvious. It's not hard. As I say, I do believe in moderation in everything. Absolutely. Like you made points there before in one of your videos that on colon cancer, on meat. Yeah, if you stuff your face with meat and don't eat anything else and don't digest it properly, you're going to get sick. Likewise, on the whole other area of things, if you binge on dairy, I say binge because I would take quite a bit of dairy and I don't feel ill of it. But if I was to, let's say, not eat it and then binge on it, it takes a while for your gut biome to change, and you'll feel bloated. You feel bloated because you can't digest what you got, and you can't digest what you got because your biome and your gut isn't correct. Anyway, that's totally divergent from her point. Okay, what was the rest of the question?
That was it, basically. That was the only question she asked, and I guess we'll summarize. We'll kind of conclude here then, as don't want you to. If you've got to go, you've got to go. So we'll conclude.
No, it is a 5:30, but my wife keeps telling me that I have to go.
All right. So I'll just be.
I mean, embarrassing myself. I don't know.
No, totally, no, not at all. Look, all people are saying now, just to give you an idea, a few people are saying now that they've got big respect, and they say you're very courageous for actually coming on, and they're saying fair enough to you for actually coming on and discussing this, because a lot of people wouldn't. So I don't think you've got anyone. I don't think you've embarrassed yourself at all. I don't think you're in that position. Now, obviously, we could have gone a lot further, and I would be happy to if you enjoyed this, if you feel like you want to do this again, or maybe you want to take a break before coming back and do it again, maybe it was intense, but I'd happily.
Run a mile. I don't know. I haven't actually.
Yeah. I'd happily have you on again. I think it was useful. I think it's been good to have you on and talk about this. And I'd like to keep in contact with you and keep sharing. I want to go and do some research and share some stuff with you. I mean, you seem, you are open-minded, and as am I. You send me some things you see, and I'll tell you what I think. I'll send you some things I want you to read, and you tell me what you think, and we can keep this discussion going, and maybe do this again sometime with some more specific topics. After we've chatted in private.
Yeah. No. Look, and I say if. I'll have a look at the comments, and if I get a chance, I'll respond to them. But as I said, I'm calving heavily at the minute, and my time is precious. I spend a lot of time with the stock. Sorry for using the word stock, but it's a word by any other name will smell just as sweet. A rose. Anyway. Apologies. I really don't want people to get the wrong opinion by the words I use, and I must take more cognizance of what words I use as well. But David, thank you for having me on, and thank you for not totally disseminating me, although I'd say you did a fair job of it.
at the end of the day, like I said earlier, I'm not in the business of telling someone, hey, come on for a discussion, and then being a total asshole. I mean, it's not fair. It's not who I am. And if we'd have had like a big bust up before we did this, then yeah, that would be fair game. We just go at each other. But I just don't see that as really useful. Yeah. I think we got our points that we wanted to get across. I think you said everything you wanted to say. You covered everything that you covered in our phone call. There was nothing left. I said everything I wanted to say. So overall, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. And I'm going to stay on for a little bit and just kind of close up. But if you have anything you want to say before you leave, you're welcome to.
No, look, I'll try and respond to some of the comments.
Okay.
Some of them there. I can't guarantee this is not a good time of year for me. Sure. But I have a look and see what I see. Some comments there. Yeah.
There's actually, I didn't see anything that was particularly, I don't know, nasty. There was a few little digs, but I think when you have a look through, you'll see some interesting points, and you can respond to them. The live chat will stay up, but you'll have to respond in the main comment section, because you won't be able to keep using the live chat, but you'll be able to look through the live chat and see what you want to respond to.
Perfect. David, I'll go on that. If I start talking, I'll never stop again.
All right, mate. All right. See you later.
Bye.
Bye. All right, there we go. That was interesting, to say the least. I think. I mean, that's what I said it would be. I said it would be interesting, to say the least. I wasn't doing this for any kind of fight. Someone's asking straight away, has John convinced me to give up veganism? Well, obviously not. I mean, that was never going to happen. Look, I'll be straight with you guys. I'll be real with you guys. I was talking with John, and I said, look, we need to come up with a title that's going to be engaging, that people are going to want to click on, but also we don't want to lie to people. Like, we're not going to have a fight, we're not going to have a debate. And he said, why don't we just tell them that I'm going to convince you to quit veganism? So I was like, all right, well, if that's what we're going to do, that's what we're going to do. Obviously, in the end, it didn't really go that way. It was a little bit different, but I think it was still a good conversation. I think it was interesting. I think it was useful. I think, John, fair play for coming on here and doing that. I think there's not enough people, like John in the world, in the sense that would come on and would do something like this with people that completely disagree with them. So I appreciate him for doing that. And my head's a little bit fried. It was intense. I was trying to keep up, and I know a lot of you weren't too happy. Just to kind of, let's go through this and conclude kind of thing. I know a lot of you weren't too happy with my introduction and how we went at the beginning, but do you understand why it was relevant now? Why I gave such a long time? Because I wanted John to tell us what he was doing, right? I didn't want to just go making assumptions about his farm and what he does. How is that relevant? And it's going to only make him feel attacked, and it's going to make him feel like I'm not. I wanted him to feel comfortable that we knew what he did, and very much we knew everything he did, right? I wanted him to feel comfortable so we could get into the more deep stuff later on, and I feel like that's kind of how it went. I gave him a chance to explain and kind of tell us what he did, and then it allowed the conversation to grow and move on in a nice way, in a good way. And I think that I'm happy I did it that way. So I know that might not have been as fiery as you guys were hoping for, but you know, it is what it is. I've got a super chat. Thank you so much. Well, it's a straight up contribution from Alvaro. Thank you so much, Alvaro, for that. I don't know what CLP is actually. Does anyone know what Alvaro, what is CLP? That's a currency. I don't know. I'm going to check my phone. 1 second. I got a currency thing. CLP. Can anyone tell me what? I've never heard of that before. What is that? I'm going to see it. I need to check this. This is going to be on my mind if I don't check it. Oh, Chilean peso. Cool. Hey, thanks so much anyway, man. That's awesome. Chilean pesos. Really appreciate that. But yeah, I don't know what to conclude with you. Let me think about what else I could really go through with you guys. So I guess, right, so from when we actually got into it, obviously it went down a few different paths. It kind of jumped around a little bit. But I believe that John, I believe that he was thinking a little bit. I believe that he was, I mean, I don't believe that. He was definitely thinking a little bit. And, you know, there were a few points that I was thinking about as well. Like, okay, maybe I've not considered that before. But the point is that no matter how much you would disagree with someone like him, like I completely disagree with, you know, no matter what points he put forward, they're not changing my mind on the fact that animals don't deserve to have this done to them. However, I hope you see now that it is possible to agree with some points of somebody you completely disagree with, while still maintaining that animals don't need to be used and abused and exploited and killed. And you know, it's absolutely possible to do that. And I hope that that became clear to all of you as well. For example, you know, when he was talking about comparing his farm to these super farms, I saw a few of you got a bit pissed off about that, and he was saying, well, it's not, and Roger Yates was there as well. No, it's not about the welfare. It's not about this, you know, it's about the use. And of course it's about the use. Of course it's about the use and abuse, of course. But if you were going to choose a strategy of like taking down an industry, would you go to try and take down the smaller farms with people like John first? Or would you try and take out the other farms with people who are not like John, people who are like, let's say, just all about the bottom line, the profit, they don't give a shit about the animals? Or would you go for those guys first, the ones who are just like all about like get them in, get them out, fast, 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 like who gives a shit about the animals? Obviously, logically, we're gonna target the other ones first, even though John and his farm would be a target if he wanted to take down that industry. Of course, it's not, I'm not saying that what he's doing is right, and of course you know that about me. My core, my baseline is that none of this is right, none of this is ethical, none of this is morally acceptable. However, he made a point in that, you know, he had a point in that, you know, he wasn't kind of saying like, I guess his point is that I put out these messages, he seems to think that it's his farm that suffers and not the other ones, and that's what he was kind of going for here, is that why are you not going for these big farms? And but we are, that's the point, we're going for the industry overall. But if someone was targeting his specific farm, I would say to them like, well, why not target this super farm? You know, why not target these bigger ones first before coming to someone like him? That's the point I'm trying to get for here. It doesn't mean don't target him. It means, you know, why make him why put an international focus, for example, on John's farm? If we could do an international event where we focus on a farm to get them shut down, why would we do it to his, is what I'm trying to say. We wouldn't. We'd focus international on a huge mega farm. So, you know, we can agree while still maintaining that none of it is moral, none of it is acceptable. But, you know, with that, we can take that point and we can concede on that point. And that's kind of how I felt it was. That's why I felt it was a very, you know, civil conversation, because I could concede on a few things, and, you know, and so did he, and that's what made it work. Okay, so let's do I mean, I would have been nice to do a Q&A with John, but obviously he had to shoot off. So we can do a Q&A if you want, guys. So how about you shoot some questions over for me, and I'll answer some of the the ones, you know, I'll answer as many as I can, as many as are relevant as well, obviously, as many as are good. I'm not going to put any old crap up on the screen, but no, I'm joking. We just ask some questions and we'll get through some. And if you've got a really, really, really good question, you really, really want it to be answered, and you want everyone to know that you're an amazing person, then please use the super chat. And whilst I'm on that topic, actually, I've got to say, Trash Carcass is Stacy, I think, if I remember your name correctly. Sorry if I don't, Trash Carcass. I know you did 2 super chats. I'm very sorry I didn't put them up on the screen. It's just at the time they weren't relevant as such to like what I was going for, and I didn't want to jolt the conversation to a shit place. And I feel like, unfortunately, I'm sorry, but your super chats, if I put them to John, it would have put us in a bit of a... I didn't want to get combative at that point. I felt like we were getting to something here. I was getting some good information. We were getting some good conversation, and I really didn't want to do that at that point. So I'm really sorry. I would put them up on the screen right now, but I can't. They've disappeared. But I really, really do appreciate your super chats. Thank you so much. And I'm sorry I didn't acknowledge them at the time and put them up on the screen. But it was a difficult thing to navigate. But send me some questions. Send me some super chats. Trash Carcass, if you want to do like a... If you want to do a super chat telling me you hate me for not putting your super chats up, if you want to put like a little one on there, like a really small amount, I'll put it on the screen, everybody can see, and I'll say, yes, I'm an asshole, I'm so sorry. So you can go for that if you want. Let's have a look. We got Jonathan's got a question. What are your thoughts about dealing with family and friends who are non-vegans? I feel I get attacked regularly for my views when I'm not the one paying for the animals to be slaughtered. I mean, it's a question that, look, if I was to just give you like a straight answer to this, I would say that family and friends are just not the kind of people you want to be engaging with on these things, unless they're open and interested in the conversation, unless they're open and interested in what you've got to say. It's really, really risky to actually do this with them, because if you fall out with them, they can make your life hell. You know, these are people you live with, people you work with, people you spend time with, and you need to reserve your energy. You need to reserve your emotions. You've got limited energy, and you're best saving it for people who actually will listen to you and people who are open to what you've got to say. And what can happen is, if you get really too far into these debates and discussions and shitty conversations with family and friends, then when somebody comes up who actually wants to know what you have to say, you might end up feeling like you don't have the energy, or even worse, you might end up prejudging them and thinking, oh no, they're just going to be horrible to me like my family and friends are, and then you might not actually talk to them. So be aware of your energy, be aware of how much of it you're wasting, if it's being wasted on these people. And look, when you say attacked regularly, what do you mean? Like they're coming at you and trying to make fun and stuff like that? Look, best thing is, in my opinion, is if they're making fun of you, don't take yourself too seriously. I know that you feel like you have to defend the animals, but if they're making jokes, just let it go. Make a joke back, laugh it off, move on. I know it sucks, but suck it up. Because save your energy, because 9 times out of 10, this joking isn't going to go anywhere good. If you get pissed off, it's not going to help, you know? So it depends on how they're coming at you, to be honest. It depends. And if they're attacking you with, like, I don't know, if they just want to fight you, there's just no point. There's just no point. Don't engage. Disengage, move on, and save the energy for people who actually want to know. That's what I would say. There are a lot of people in the world, and you're best saving your energy for the ones who are actually going to take you seriously and not treat you like a piece of shit. Hope that answers your question. So Tree says, what are my thoughts on Streamlabs taking a much smaller cut from donations than YouTube? Whoa, what is happening to this pen? You see that? How is that possible? Why is it doing like a brick? Because the pen's green? What the fuck? Wait, hold up. What is going on here? Green screen, is it on? Oh my God, the green screen was on. Wait, so I can make this pen into anything? What is that? Oh my God. What the hell? Okay, no, sorry. That's why I wonder why my laptop was like whirring and like making a lot of noise. It's been trying to do a bloody green screen this entire time. That's why it's been like been kicking off, getting really, hot. All right. What are my thoughts on the Streamlabs? Yeah, well, I guess if they do, I need to learn Streamlabs. It's not as simple as StreamYard. It's not as simple as this setup. And also, Streamlabs is just an app. It's not like a. I guess you can arrange donations through it. I don't know. I need some help from Ellie, Vegan Gaze. She's gonna help me with that at some point. Yeah, Ideen. I love John calling all the animals on his farm pets. Yeah, that was. Look, there was a lot of things. Look, there was a lot of things that he said that I could have, been pedantic over. I could have called out. I could have, but I was trying to think to myself, like, right, what is good for this conversation? What is going to, progress the conversation to the other stage? It's like, and a few of you were like, yeah, do go at him like Vegan Gains and do this and do that, but I'm not Vegan Gains, right? So why would I do what Vegan Gains does? Like, this is not, you don't follow me, you don't watch my videos because I'm like Vegan Gains, do you? You watch them because I'm like me. So I have my way of doing things, and I didn't want to do things the same as anybody else. I wanted to do them the way I do them, and I had a goal in mind. I wanted a productive conversation where I would call out a few things and I would be firm, but only when and if I felt it was right. And then I got to those points, and I feel like it worked out the way I would have liked it to. That's the way that is. But yeah, this was one of the things that it popped into my head, like, okay, let's do this. And then I was like, it's true, it's correct, what you're saying is correct, but I just didn't want to do it. I didn't feel like it was a productive thing to get into at that point. Yeah, but yeah, to summarize, I agree with you. It is pretty fucked up to say, they're my pets, but it's like, you don't send your pets to a slaughterhouse. There was another thing as well, like I love the animals. Like you try to love your wife, and it was kind of like, that was something else that made me like, ugh, really? Like, you don't send your wife to a slaughterhouse. You don't put your wife in, milk your wife and against her will and breed your wife. But anyway, all these things, these were the obvious things, the obvious roads we could have gone down, and I feel like a lot of it was not needed to be spoken anyway, because I feel like sometimes when he said the things, he was kind of like, I know what he's going to say back. I feel like he was predicting me, and I didn't want to just fit into a stereotype. I felt like, let's not do what he expects. Let's try to actually, go to places and get some real talk going on, rather than focusing on some little digs. I could have made so many little digs. I had so many things that popped into my head, little digs. And I think Oiva was saying, Oiva, who's in the comments now, was saying David's restraining himself. You can tell. You're absolutely right. I was restraining myself. As I said, didn't bring him on a live stream to destroy him, right? Because that's just... And one of the first things he actually said to me was, yeah, I'll come on the live stream if you promise not to destroy me. And I was like, yeah, all right. So I'm not going to go back on my promise. That would have been a bit of an asshole move, wouldn't it? So not really into that, into lying to people, stuff like that. So, okay. Any questions, guys? Give me some questions. There's 57 of you in here still. You must have some questions, Whilst I'm waiting for you, I'm going to eat this. Look at this. My partner Annie made this. It's like a, I don't know, chocolate Rice Krispies thing. Come on, there we go. Oh no, my fingers are in focus, and that's not. There we go. Look at that. It's cool, right? That's good. It's all melty though. Yeah. Any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Give me some questions. And don't forget, use the super chat. If you enjoyed this and you're enjoying this, then use the super chat. Oh, wait a minute. Someone say, Oiva got falsely credited. Oh, was it Tree who said it? I'm sorry if I've credited the wrong person for a comment. So, oh yeah, you want the recipe of these? I think it's just like Rice Krispies. All right, and oh my god, I can't. Come on, focus. There you go. And then you just put chocolate on top, and you put them in the fridge, and that's it. Oh, you stick them together with syrup, I think. Annie can tell. Annie, moderator, get in here. Tell them how you made it. I mean, not in the stream. Just put it in the chat if you don't want to come on the stream. Okay, Ideen, am I saying your name correctly? Is it Ideen or Ideen? How did I find John for the interview? Well, actually, he commented on one of my videos saying, basically saying like, this was really well edited. So this is a really cool video, but there's a few things I don't agree with. And he was kind of like, it was very reasonable. So I responded saying, hey, you seem pretty cool. You seem like a reasonable guy. Do you want to, and he told me he was a farmer in the comment. I was like, you seem like a reasonable guy. Do you want to come on to the, onto the live stream and have a chat? And that's when he said, yeah, but only if you don't like destroy me. So, and then we got talking and he came on. Oh, Julian, what's up? So guys, Julian or Dantas as his name is in Discord, he is the moderator for, or admin, sorry, for my Discord, the David Rams Discord. So that is a place where we can all chat and we could all hang out, and it's really, really cool. So basically, I'm going to put the link in the live right now. I'm going to put it in the comments for you guys. So please do check that. Come and hang out in the Discord. It's really, really cool. You'll definitely enjoy it. We can share videos, we can talk, we can do all that good stuff. And if you're a patron, if you're a part of my Patreon team, straight after this live stream, I'm going into the Discord in the Patreon only section, and we're going to do a voice chat. So I'm going to come on and we're going to have a voice chat, me and you, as in like all you guys put your microphones on, jump in, and we'll have a one-to-one, or let's say one to whatever. We'll just have a conversation with multiple of us, okay? So jump in there. If you're not in the Patreon team, obviously you won't be able to join the Patreon area to do that voice chat, but you will be able to join everything else. But you should definitely join the Patreon team because it's only $1 a month. That's the like minimum. I'll put it here as well. And if you join the Patreon team as like with a minimum of $1 a month, then you get to do that cool stuff like voice chats. We get to like have a chat together, like actually share ideas. Also, I'm doing some cool Patreon only live streams in Discord where I'm going to be showing you guys my scripting. So if I'm making some scripts for my videos, you guys can actually get involved and help me with the script. One of my patrons just a few days ago actually did that. He contributed to a script that I was making. He gave me an entire like line to put in it. It was a really cool, funny thing that he said. So I was like, great, we'll put it in. I'm going to do some live video editing stuff, some photo editing stuff. You can also get involved in that. But this is all going to be only for Patreon team members. So the Patreon exclusive stuff, as well as other stuff as well. So if that's cool, if that sounds interesting to you, if you like that, join the Patreon team. And then you'll get access to the Patreon only Discord where all of this cool stuff is going to happen. And yeah, I'm really excited for it. So Julian, that's one of my big plans, is to build the Patreon team and have more involvement with you guys, have more interaction, communication with you guys, and have you more involved in my video creation process. I'm really, really pumped about that. I'm going to do some other stuff like not related to the main work. I'm going to do the main work. I'm going to do some like vocal covers, music related stuff, but big plans for the future of this channel, as in like animal rights related content. It's hard to say. I got to be honest with you. It's hard to say because, you know, the whole situation right now with the global situation, you know what I'm saying. I don't need to say the word, but yeah, you know what I'm talking about. It's hard to predict how it's going to go, but I know that I've got some plans in the videos, plans for videos on the schedule. Let's say I'm doing a Christmas video. It's going to be good. I'm sure you're going to like it. That's coming out hopefully on Christmas Eve. I'm going to be doing a video about Isaac Butterfield, which you might enjoy. Big plan, actually. One big plan. I have a t-shirt design and it's ready. And I'm super pumped to show it to you. But I'm not going to show it you yet because somebody might steal it. But the t-shirt is really cool. And that's I'm really excited to launch that, actually. So I'm pretty pumped to get that out there. There's a few more questions. Let's have a look. Are you serious, Tree? You serious right now? Okay. JK, thanks. All right, Jonathan again. I was talking to a friend the other day and he asked me why I don't drink cow's milk when they produce so much excess milk. If it doesn't hurt them, it's used for baking. Why not take advantage? Take advantage? I mean, look at the language on that. I mean, what, take advantage? Okay, but it's like I said to John, all right? We can take advantage of other people too. We could do things to people that are really beneficial for us. Like, for example, you know, look, humans have loads of energy. Right? Like kids have loads of energy. Kids have loads of energy. They have far too much energy. They waste it. What about if I use them in a factory, that I'm making use of that energy, that benefits me? It's excess energy. Why not take advantage? You see that point? It doesn't justify it. Because even if they do produce excess milk, which yes, some cows do, but it's something we've bred them to do, by the way. But even if they do it, even if they did that naturally, it doesn't justify us taking it just because they have it. Because it exists, it doesn't justify doing the action. You know. All right, Sharon. Oh, There you go. I have people at work who constantly take the piss out of me being vegan. Then they always ask why I would want to eat something that imitates meat. How would you handle this? Well, why do people like to play games like Call of Duty or Grand Theft Auto where they steal cars and get with hookers and, shoot each other and stuff like that? Why do they play those games? Why are you trying to imitate it? Why not just go out and do it? Well, we know the answer to that, right? Because people like to pretend. They like the pleasure and the satisfaction of doing these things in a virtual way, in a not real way. But they wouldn't want to do that in real life because that would hurt somebody. That would hurt somebody, and it comes with real life consequences, right? So there's the same thing here. Like vegans don't stop, or a lot of vegans don't stop enjoying the tastes of animal products. Like, you're not going to like this, all right? And I've said a few things today you won't like, but for me, I never ate meat. I was born vegetarian, all right? I've eaten it once or twice by accident or on purpose when I was very young, but by accident since then. Maybe once, twice, 3 times maximum. But for cheese and eggs, I didn't stop liking how they taste. I still don't dislike how they taste. Like, if I could eat something right now that tasted exactly like egg, I'd be very happy. If I could eat something right now which tasted exactly like cheese, I'd be very happy. And I have eaten both of those things as a vegan because I like those tastes, all right? What I don't like is the violence and the abuse that comes behind the original versions of those things. The OG, where cheese originally was made and how cheese was originally made and where eggs originally came from, and like that process is that system, what happens to those animals, that's what the abuse, I don't want that. But to get the pleasure, to get the taste, I'd still quite like that. Actually, if I could get it, I would have it. So I have the vegan version. That's how I explain it, basically. Hope that's clear. Top Berlin, what was his main argument for continuing to do what he's doing? Well, he had a few, really. We didn't really get to the bottom of it. I tried my hardest to get to the bottom of it, but it kind of changed a few times. So at first it was that feeding the people because the population of Ireland needs him. And then I said, okay, well, if that wasn't the case and I could prove that, then would you stop doing it? He said no. So I was like, okay, so what is it then? And he couldn't really answer that. He kind of went around in circles. So John believes that what he's doing is noble and that he's feeding the people. On some level, I think, I think a lot of farmers convince themselves of this to justify that they do work very, very hard, but they kind of make themselves into victims of that. But they made that decision. Whether he made the decision to do this job as some kind of service to humanity or whether he did it for money is that only he knows that. But he told us it was because of his service to humanity, and we'll take him at his word. But then when I said if it wasn't necessary, would you stop doing it? He kind of said no. So I don't really know what his main argument was in the end. Okay, it means green. It means ideas in German. Okay, good. Okay, no worries. Good to know. Let's continue. We've got a lot of comments here. Paul says, how did I feel health-wise once I became vegan? I can't tell you any specific difference. The only difference I've ever felt with my health was when I stopped consuming oil and processed foods during the week, and I only ate them at weekends. I did that for a long time, and that I felt a massive difference then. I felt a lot better and a lot healthier, and I could run a lot faster, and I was training really hard for a marathon. Hold up, where are we going here? I'm just gonna get your comments back. Thanks, Mehmet. Mehmet says he's gonna join the Patreon next month, so I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for joining the Patreon team. I'm gonna give you a thank you in advance of joining, and I'll thank you again when you do join. So thank you so much. Really appreciate the feedback. And thank you for coming to every one of these live streams as well. Thank you so much. Jordan, where is your non-American accent from? I'm not American. I'm not Canadian. I'm not Australian. I'm English. I'm from the northwest of England, but I've lived in other countries for the last 4 or 5 years. So I lived in Spain and then now Finland, and also spent a lot of time in India and in Asia. So yeah, the accent's a little bit all over the place. Yeah. Okay. Any more questions, guys? Any more questions? Oh, Jonathan's back again. Oh, good. Jonathan, don't apologize. I appreciate you coming out with these, giving us some good questions. So, do I take any vitamins or supplements? If so, any specifically that I recommend? Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I'm living in Finland right now, so we don't really have sunlight. So vitamin D, a vegan vitamin D supplement is a necessity, and it is for most people, because even in countries like India, where people have sunlight, they don't tend to go outside a lot. A lot of people, so they avoid the sun. So even in India, it's recommended to take a vitamin D supplement. So imagine how it is for people in European countries like Finland. We really do have to take a vitamin D supplement. So I take one of those. I take this one that has a lot in it. I just take one that has an all-round vegan supplement. You can get them on Amazon. You can get them from vegan.com. I think the Vegan Society sells the VIT1, which covers a lot of vitamins. But basically, it's B12 and B12 and D are the two that it's really important to cover, and make sure you are supplementing, or at least that you're getting them through a dietary source. But yeah, there are some all-in-one vitamins that you can get a hold of as well. Blah blah blah. Tree, how was India? India was good. India was challenging. Did a lot of very challenging things there. Did talks to 3,000 people. Went to college and did a talk to a lot of students about veganism and animal rights, only to find out that they were a load of animal testing students, and they got really angry, and we had a big, horrible kind of argument in public. That was pretty insane. And also going to slaughterhouses and investigating, and I saw some very horrible things that I don't even want to explain right now. I have videos of things that are just like the other day somebody responded. I have my highlights in my Instagram. If you want to see what I'm talking about, go and look at my highlights on Instagram, because somebody messaged me saying, oh my God, this is horrible. And I looked at what they were responding to, and it was one of my highlights, and I actually forgot I filmed that. I looked at it and I was like, oh my God, because I pushed that out of my mind. You film it, you edit it, and you're just broken, and then you post it and you're like, I never want to see that ever again. So yeah, it had its ups and downs. Sharon, thank you so much. If you join it straight after this, then you'll be able to come into the Discord. If you can find the Discord, and you'll be able to come into the voice chat, and you'll be able to come and have a chat in the Patreon only section of the Discord. So yeah, I hope you can make it. Thank you so much. Yeah, the Discord, Michael's also a patron, and he's in the Discord as well. And thank you for the feedback on my activism as well. I really appreciate that, man. Oh, we've got a few more questions. Iodine, yeah. So iodine is something I've seen a few papers going around recently, a few articles going around talking about iodine. I'll have to not talk about that right now, because I haven't actually read them, and I'm not going to go talking about stuff I don't know anything about. But I will read into that, and maybe the next live stream we can bring it up and get into it. Sharon is asking, would I take an iron tablet? No, because iron tablets, as far as I can see, there's quite a lot of evidence out there to suggest that they don't actually work that well. It's better to just eat a lot of iron-containing foods, which you can get a hold of very easily. Anything dark leafy greens are absolutely fine for your iron. And beetroots, I believe, are also good for iron, but I don't think iron tablets are... I had iron tablets when I was young. Put it this way, I had iron tablets when I was young. I had anemia when I was a teenager, and by the way, the doctor said it had absolutely nothing to do with my diet. It was because I went from being like a short ass to quite tall. Like I was really short, and then I grew to 6'2", which is like 189 centimeters in a very quick time. It was in one summer basically, and he said the reason for that's why you've got anemia, is he said that basically your body's kind of depleted right now. You need to eat a lot more, and you need to eat a lot more of these iron containing, but basically it gave me a tablet, and it just made my poo black. Sorry if that's too much information, but it just made my it just made my poo black, because it was just going straight through. And then I researched them, and it turns out the tablets are not very good. Well, it may have been just the one I was taking, I don't know, but I think I would just recommend you just eat a lot more foods containing iron, like dark leafy greens and beetroots. Any other questions, guys? Any other questions? Well, I'll tell you what, we're closing in on 3 hours, so let's wrap it up there. I am very very appreciative of all of you who've been involved today. It's been a really good stream. I enjoyed the discussion with John. Thank you, John, again. And thank you for keeping it civil in the chat, in the comments, in the chat, the live chat. I really do appreciate that. You guys, I actually, honestly, I was reading some of your comments and I was like, wow, I'm proud that these are the people that watch my streams, you know? You were awesome. You did so well, keeping your cool. Most people kept their cool. You asked some pretty good questions. You were respectful, even though you completely disagree with him and you hate everything he stands for. You were respectful, and I feel like that's awesome. We need more of that. We can dismantle someone's position. We can dismantle someone's excuses without being complete assholes. And I know I'm a bit of an asshole sometimes, but when it's on a one-on-one situation like this, when it's an actual conversation, being an asshole isn't the best thing always. It can be, but most of the time it isn't, right? Being an asshole in a video on Instagram or being an asshole in a video on YouTube, totally different, because I feel like you need to give a big impact in those things. But when it's one-on-one, I feel like you got to be a little bit different. All right. So I appreciate that everybody kind of joined me on that and you kept it cool, and really, really appreciate that. So proud to be part of this community. You guys are awesome. So thank you so much. And one more time, one more plug. Don't forget, I am going to be in the voice chat. I'm going to be doing a voice conversation with you guys right now in the Discord. So you can only access that if you're part of the Patreon team. So again, there's the Patreon link. You would need to sign up there, and then I'll give you the Discord link straight after it. So if you want a little bit more, you want to chat, you want to catch up, you want to see what's going on, you want to see what I'm getting up to, help me out with some videos, stuff like that, this is what you need to do. So get in there, join, and for those of you that are going to do that, I'll see you there right now in a few minutes. For those of you that aren't going to do that, I'll see you in the next live stream on Sunday, which is going to be a really nice one, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. Thanks a lot, guys, and see you